I've been married for a month and my husband is having an affair with my sister. I've been in shock since I found out. We have been married for a month. He's been having the affair with my sister since before we got engaged back in November. My sister is 8 months pregnant. Her husband was the one who discovered the affair, and he is divorcing her. He had to get a test done on the advice of his aunt, who is a solicitor, to make sure their 1.5-year-old son was his child, but my sister doesn't yet know if her husband or my husband is the father of her baby. I'll be seeking a divorce even though my husband wants us to go to counseling and stay married. I'm an advocate, a barrister, so I won't have any trouble finding a solicitor at least. The law only takes adultery into consideration as to why the marriage broke down and not for how the assets are divided or settled. However, at least I will not have to pay him support since we were only married for a month before I moved out of our flat. I will never speak to my sister again no matter how much she begs me to forgive her, and I am not staying married to my husband no matter how much he begs me to stay. I don't believe either of them when they say they are sorry. Not one bit. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm so sorry for their betrayal. I would never speak to her ever again either. Commenter 2. The amount of posts about siblings cheating with their siblings' partners is truly baffling. Where I'm from, these cases are extremely rare. Maybe there are hidden well. I dunno. We look at our siblings' partner as our own sibling family. The thought of looking at my sister's partner as an affair partner is puke-inducing, and I would kill for my sister. To even think to put her through something so traumatic is beyond comprehension to me. I don't understand, do people not love their siblings? My sister is like my child. I know I shouldn't judge, but like WTF, what is this upbringing? Why is this so common? Commenter 3. Since you've only been married for a month, is an annulment an option? So sorry for what you're going through. Sis and hubby are both trash. Update. I've been married for a month and my husband is having an affair with my sister. People who say you should get over it when someone cheats on you have no idea what it is like. Last June I, F37, found out my husband, M39, was having an affair with my sister, F27. I had been married for a month. Their affair began before I was engaged. My sister's husband, M27, was the one who first found out. When it was discovered, my sister was about 8 months pregnant with a baby girl and it turned out my ex-husband is the father. Apparently he was furious when he found out because he didn't want children. My ex-husband and I met in an online dating group for people who don't want children, or to date people who have children from former relationships. My ex-husband and my sister both begged me to forgive them. My sister said she can't help it that she fell in love him, and my ex-husband said he couldn't be blamed for what happened. I couldn't believe they thought what they did could be forgiven and forgotten. My ex-husband didn't want a divorce and neither did my sister from my former brother-in-law. I'm divorced now. I'm an advocate, known as a barrister in the rest of the UK, so I was fortunate to already know the best solicitors who could represent me in my divorce. Since I was only married for a month before I sought a divorce and moved out of our flat, I did not have to pay my ex-husband maintenance and the divorce did not take long. It's a different story for my sister and my former brother-in-law. They were married for longer, they own property and they have a son together. He was 17 months old when the affair was discovered. My sister may end up having to pay spousal and child maintenance since she earns more. Their divorce is ongoing. I haven't spoken with my former brother-in-law since I first left my ex-husband, but I feel badly for him. He was devastated when he found out about the affair and the baby not being his child. He didn't deserve any of that. People who say you should just get over it when someone cheats on you have no idea. I have never felt pain like this before. It wasn't even just emotional. It was physical as well. I'm still heartbroken over this. I had no idea anything could hurt so much. I'm going to start seeing a counselor, but it doesn't feel like enough. I haven't seen or spoken to my ex-husband since I moved out of our flat. The only contact during the divorce was through our solicitors. He's dead to me and so is my sister. I haven't seen or spoken to my sister since shortly after I left my ex-husband and I never want to see her again. She's dead to me. I don't think I'll ever heal from this. I'm fortunate my parents, my other sister and most of my family support me and have disowned my traitor sister and no longer have contact with her. Anyone who tells me I should forgive her or chooses her over me gets removed from my life with no second chance. I don't ever want to hear anything about either one of them again. From what my ex-husband's solicitor said during my divorce, they, sister and ex-husband, plan to marry after she is granted a divorce. I haven't heard anything about either one of them since then. I try not to even think about either of them. They were two of the people I loved most in the world and they did something that I'll never heal from. They are selfish and they destroyed me. Anyone who says I should get over this or forgive and forget has no idea what it is like. Comments. Commenter 1. Thank you for the update. You and your BL are both making the best possible decision. You're right, your ex and your ex-sister are horrible, selfish people. They hurt so many people. Do whatever you can to protect your peace and mental health. I'm so sorry they did this to you. Honestly, I'd recommend blocking anyone who says you need to forgive them and move on. No, you don't. You may at some point in the future need to explore forgiveness from the point of view of easing the weight on your heart. But don't feel pressured to offer forgiveness to either of them. I wish you the best of luck in the future. Commenter 2. Guarantee the only reason sister's marrying the ex at this point is because he's all she has since she's been disowned by the entire family. It's a marriage of convenience. Something tells me that's going to be one toxic relationship, as I'm sure there'll be resentment there from both of them, and they'll have no one to blame but themselves. All I can say for the ex who never wanted kids, karma, while I feel for the kid, I hope the kid doesn't grow up with parents that resent them. They don't deserve that. Stories number 2. My 27F ex, 26M, dumped me in January after 9 years together because he didn't think I was wife material. Now he reached out wanting to talk because he needs to get something off his chest. I don't know why he doing this or if I should met him. I was with my ex who I will call Nate because if I'm being honest minus betraying a friend I was a Cassie. Editor's note, I believe this is a Euphoria TV reference. I don't watch it but that's what Google says. This has no bearing on the story. I don't want to go too much into the details but for the last 9 years I lost myself to Nate. He was my world. Everything I did was for him. I helped him through depression, helped keep his grades up, even worked 2 jobs so he could focus on collage when his parents disowned him for nearly 3 years because they didn't agree with the major or collage he chose. Bear in mind I was also a collage student. When his parents started talking to him again and started to financial support him, we moved into a new apartment. Nate said he wanted me to quit my job. I didn't, because it was his turn to take care of me. For 16 months everything was great. He spoiled me. Then I noticed he was more interested in his new friends. At times he ignored me completely. Back in December he did a 180 and he bombed me the whole month. He really went out of his way to make Christmas magical for me. I honestly believed he was going to propose on January the 2nd. He made me my favorite dinner and made this speech about me being his first love, how I've been there since high school. I kept thinking any minute now he's gonna ask me to marry him. But no, he dumped me. As his speech went on my world fell apart, and as much he tried to sugarcoat it, he basically said, you were a good girlfriend but that's what you always be to me, a girlfriend. I don't see you as my wife or the mother of my children, blah blah. You served your purpose, now I don't need you anymore, blah blah. I need someone on my level, blah blah. You're a gold digger, blah. I'll give you 30 days to move out. I couldn't speak and he stared at me looking for a response. I think this lasted 20 minutes before he said he'd sleep in the guest room then left. Strangely I didn't cry or get angry. I just ordered cardboard boxes online then went to bed. The next day I waited for him to leave the apartment before I left my room. Then I called my boss, asked, begged really, if I could transfer anywhere. She told me there wasn't anything but if something came up in my department she'd consider me. I then reached out to everyone I knew that wasn't also Nate's friend for a place to stay. My cousin invited me to stay in her spare room for as long as I needed and I could move in straight away, so that was amazing. In the 4 days it took me to pack my stuff and move out I didn't see or speak to Nate. I doubt he even noticed. I didn't trust myself at the time to ignore a "you up" text, so I blocked him and everyone close to him, even changed me number email to make sure he couldn't reach me. The first night at my cousin's was the night everything hit me. I think I cried every night the first month. I honestly felt like shit. I thought about what Nate said over and over again. It made me feel so low, like I was nothing. He only stayed with me because I was just there, but thankfully my cousin sent for my mom, other cousins, and real friends to give me an intervention which I badly needed. I believe that first month I wouldn't have made it without my cousin. I'm still healing and waiting on that job transfer because I feel like if I'm not in the same city as Nate and I have a place of my own, the fresh start would do me the world of good. I thought by now I'd be a distant memory for Nate, but shockingly he sent flowers to my job today for my birthday, which was on Sunday. Apparently he went to my parents' house looking for me too, and my mom admitted he's been before dropping off stuff and tried to ask questions about me, but they told him to fuck off. The flowers came with a card saying, "Dear Cassie, happy belated birthday. I've been thinking about you for non-stop for the last few months, especially with how everything ended. I need to get something off my chest that I feel will haunt me for the rest of my life if I don't tell you this to your face, but I've no way of contacting you. If it's possible, can we meet up in the near future, Nate?" What could he want? What's haunting him? He needs to say to my face. Everyone in my life is telling me ignore him, but they hate him. I'm torn, but I can't lie. My curiosity is telling me meet him to see what he wants. Has anyone been in my shoes or in Nate's? Sum of comments. Top comment, NGL. I didn't read all that. I just wanted to say, just because he needs to say something doesn't mean you need to hear it. I doubt it's anything that would add vacuum to your life. He's likely wanting to alleviate guilt for some long ago trespass. Reply. My cousin thinks he tried to monkey branch and it didn't work out. Editor's note, monkey branching means he was already emotionally connecting, at least, with someone else before breaking up with OOP. Commenter, seems like he cheated on you back in December before the love bombing. Now, this dumbass cheater is probably engaged to the affair partner, hence the wife material comment. Fuck him. Let him implode that relationship just like he imploded yours. He's not a good human, and he's trying to make himself feel better about something. He doesn't deserve that. And he doesn't deserve your time or energy. Reply, you know what's pathetic? If he cheated and told me that was the reason he was breaking up with me, wouldn't I don't think it'd have hurt me as much. Get checked for STDs. Reply, oh, I didn't think of that, now I'm panicking. Commenter, besides the STD test, which I agree with because I also suspect he was cheating, let your job know to turn him away if he shows up. The last thing you need is him stalking you. You don't owe him closure. He wants to absolve himself of his guilt by dumping it onto you. It's not your burden to bear. Whatever is torturing him is of his own doing. You have no idea how you'll handle whatever he wants to tell you. What if you slip back into despair? Are you willing to let your curiosity potentially expose you to further emotional trauma? Ultimately, it's up to you to meet up with him. Take some time to process all of this before deciding. Is he blocked everywhere? Blocked on social media, and my accounts are set to private new number and his number is blocked and deleted. I didn't trust myself for the first few weeks because back in January, you up text would have had me running barefoot at 2 a.m. Mini update in comments. He came to my work today looking for me during lunchtime. I told the receptionist say I was out and caught a ride home with a coworker so I wouldn't met him if he planned to run into me by accident. Update post. So we ended up meeting and no, I didn't go to him. I had told the receptionist at my work if he came looking for just say I'm out for the day after he showed up once. I didn't want the drama of him around my job. So Nate just kept going to my usual places like the grocery store I go every Saturday evening or the park I ran at Sunday mornings, his words, till he would eventually run into me. And he did yesterday. He was waiting at the coffee shop I go to after my morning run. When I saw him I tried to turn around and leave, but he kept calling me, so I thought to myself if everything went pear-shaped a coffee shop would be safer than my walk home. So I just sat down and asked him what he wanted. He gave an apology that wasn't an apology, you know, the type with, I'm sorry but, and, pity me. He blamed his mental health, his job, his parents, his friends, everyone but himself. I took someone's advice on here and said, cut the crap, I already know everything. He genuinely looked shocked and stared at me for a second. I guess he thought his coworker already told me everything so he couldn't lie. Here's what really happened. He fell for a girl in his office. When he told me her name I knew her immediately. I've met her a few times. He told for the last 2 years he idolized her. To be fair, she's beautiful with an amazing personality, and he hated me because I was the one stopping them from being together because his coworker was too classy to be a side piece. When he broke up with me he confessed to her that he was madly in love with her and he ended a 9-year relationship to be with her. Well, here's where it gets funny. She doesn't even like him, lol. She called him a piece of trash and told him if he ever spoke to her outside work she'd report him to HR. So I asked him, what has any of this got to do with me? Like we are over. I clearly cut ties. There's no reason for us to speak. He wants to try again, promised we'd get married before the year ends, that we belong together. I told him no, I'm nobody's second choice. He threw me away after 9 years and said some pretty cruel things to me, and now he thinks if he snaps his fingers I'll come running back. He tried to beg and fake tears, bringing the good times in our relationship. I told him please leave me alone as he wasted too much of my time already. I texted my cousin to meet me at the coffee shop. He kept saying nonsense, even suggested if I went to couples counseling for a few months he'd leave me alone. The 20 minutes it took for my cousin to arrive felt like 20 years. In the end I just stopped listening and stood at the counter making small talk with baristas till my cousin arrived. She told him to fuck off and if he tried to follow us she'd call her brothers. He stayed in the coffee shop as far as I know and we just went home, that's it. It's only been a day but I feel like it's over and I'm free of him. Sum of comments. Commenter, you're being stalked. Change your routine. Reply, yeah, I'm gonna do this as I run at 6 a.m. so not a lot of people around. Gonna miss that coffee shop though, they made the best breakfast wraps, but I'm not taking any chances and I'll go grocery shopping with my cousin. Commenter, you dodged a bullet. I hope your job has an opening in another city soon. Reply, me too. I've been talking to people on here and IRL kinda a bit freaked out with the stories of how bad things can get. Hopefully he will just leave me alone. Editor's note, marked as concluded because OOP met with her ex, which was the initial question. Editor's note 2, to reiterate, this has not been posted here before. This sub has a 7-day waiting period and that period has just passed. You may have seen it on the other sub with a similar name, in the wild or on looking for a post, which is on this sub. Stories number 3. Aita for demanding to go through my BIL and his GF's bags if they are staying with us. Background. I have a pretty severe dairy allergy. I break out in hives, struggle to breathe, and have to carry 2 EpiPens with me everywhere. If I get any dairy in my system, I'll end up in the ER. My in-laws know this and have been extremely accommodating since my fiancé and I started dating 5 years ago. When we moved in together 2 years ago, we set strict rules for our home because of my allergy. The big one is that no one is allowed to bring anything that contains dairy into our house ever, no matter what. On to the current story. My BL started dating his girlfriend a year and a half ago. They came to visit us together for the first time a year ago. My fiancé made sure my BL explained my allergy to his girlfriend, and our no dairy rule. 2 days into their stay, she bought dairy products and cooked lunch for herself when we weren't home. I ended up in the ER because of cross-contamination. She apologized and explained she hadn't understood how serious my allergy was. We managed to put the situation behind us since both my fiancé and I currently have and want to keep a good relationship with my BIL. The two of them came for a second visit 9 months ago. We had a video call with BIL and his girlfriend before the trip to make sure she understood the severity of my allergy and how serious we are about the no dairy rule. During their second trip, I was taking out the trash and found candy bar wrappers and an empty milkshake container in the guest room trash, the room she was staying in. Even after she saw how serious my allergy is, and how I ended up in the ER, she still brought dairy into our house. I confronted her when they got back. She and BL had a huge fight. BL went through her stuff and threw out everything she had with dairy. We kicked out his girlfriend. BL stayed for the rest of the planned trip. BIL and his girlfriend worked out the relationship after the trip and are still together. Since their second trip, BL has come alone since I don't trust his girlfriend in our house. Well, BIL is planning a new trip to visit us, and his girlfriend wants to come too. At first, we just said no, we don't trust her. But since we know this is important to BIL, we came up with what we believe is a good compromise. She can come and stay at our place, but we will look through her bags every time she comes back to our place. And if she doesn't accept that she can stay at a hotel or stay home. Now I am being called an asshole for treating her like a criminal and that checking her bag is an invasion of privacy. So Aita for demanding to go through her bag if she is staying at my house. Comments. Commenter 1. She's broke your trust twice and she's calling you an asshole. She's the asshole, asterisk. Commenter 2. Exactly. She's the one who nearly killed OP twice, and now she's acting like she's the one being wronged. She should be grateful OP's even giving her another chance. Commenter 3. Exactly. I honestly wouldn't let her back into my house. You're very kind OP edit. Yes, I could use other words than kind, but I think overall OP gets the simple statement. Commenter 4. Dude, why are you letting her back in? You trying to die? Of course you're NTA. FFS. Commenter 5. Seriously, do hotels not exist there OP is? I would never let that woman into my home again. Commenter 6. I wouldn't either. I get why OP feels the way she does, but if it's to the point where she feels she has to frisk GF every time she walks in the front door just to feel safe in her own home, then she needs to stop allowing GF over altogether. Update. I didn't plan on writing an update, especially not so soon, but a lot has happened in just one day. But first, I want to clear up some misconceptions around their second visit to our home. I did not get sick from BIL's GF having candy bars and a milkshake cup in the trash, or some candy bars in her bag. That wasn't the problem. The issue was that while knowing our no dairy house rule, had not only seen but also been responsible for me going into anaphylaxis shook and had gotten an in-depth explanation of my allergy and why it is important to us to keep our home dairy-free, she still brought my known allergen into my house, my safe space. That is why we fought with her and kicked her out of our house. On to the update. After the first 500 or so comments telling me I am an idiot for even considering letting this woman, who is a danger to my health, back into my house, I realized I was listening way too much to the part of me who just wanted to keep the peace and was downplaying the seriousness of the past incidents in my mind. I kept thinking the first time she might not have known how serious my allergy was, and it was an accident, and since I didn't get sick the second time she brought dairy into my home, I was exaggerating how bad it was. I know it sounds insane, but after dealing with people who don't take allergies seriously for years, I've gotten used to apologizing and even downplaying my allergy to others. I sat down with my fiancé and discussed the whole situation. He explained how he also doesn't want BIL's GF back in our home, but since I was willing to give her another chance, and it was my health affected by her previous actions, he felt I should make the final decision. He ended up texting BIL to tell him our original no answer stand, that he is welcome to stay with us, but she is not allowed in our house. Especially since she hasn't even apologized for breaking our rule again, after she sent me to the ER the first time they visited, and I'm his family, and my health and well-being are more important to him than BIL visiting. I wasn't here for this part, but this is what my fiancé told me happened. After he sent that message, BIL called him and they talked. Turns out BIL's GF had told him that she reached out after their second trip, that we talked, and I forgave her, but wasn't ready to have her back in my house yet. She has asked him to come with every time he has visited us. BIL always told her no, and that she would only be allowed to come with when I told him I was ready to have her back in my house. He only asked if she could come since it had been 9 months, and as far as he knew, I had forgiven her. According to my fiancé, BIL was extremely apologetic. I haven't had time to talk directly with him yet, but we have planned a video chat to get everything worked out tomorrow. The reason my BL didn't ask me directly about the situation and believed his GF is because he is aware how traumatic an allergic reaction is to me, and that I hate to talk about it after since I cannot stand relive the situation. If anyone is interested, I can post a second update after I talk to my BL tomorrow, and hopefully have a final conclusion to this whole thing. Comments. Commenter 1. I swear, why do people always lie about stuff like this? Do they really think it's not going to come out? Commenter 2. Or they think they are so clever, and will get away with it. I would love to hear what BL says. Why he stays with his GF is beyond me. Commenter 3. This last part so much. Why stay with someone who is on the record with lies, deceit and disregard for the safety of others? No empathy whatsoever for someone who, if everything went well, you'd be seeing regularly and tied to for most of your adult life as family. Pokemon evolve better than this dingbat. Update 2. Aita for demanding to go through my BIL and his GF's bags if they are staying with us, so I have talked to my BIL. We had a long and emotional conversation. I won't post it all here, since some of the stuff we discussed is personal, but I still wanted to update you guys. To start, BL kept apologizing and saying he should have checked with us, not just believed his GF, or now ex-GF. He went on to explain how the reason he wanted to talk with me today instead of yesterday after the call with my fiancé, was because he felt like he had already failed us for believing his GF. We do not agree with this at all, and do not blame him. So he wanted to show he truly is remorseful of everything that has happened, not just say the words, but show it through actions. After the call with my fiancé, he confronted his ex first, tried to convince him that I was lying and trying to ruin their relationship. That didn't work, so she tried to manipulate him with tears. BL explained it as now that he has fully seen all of her crazy behavior, he immediately saw how manipulative she is. A lot more happened, but I won't go into detail, since it isn't my story but my BIL's. The end result is that he broke up with her. He also told us more that we didn't know, including how they actually broke up after the second time they visited us. He didn't want to be with someone who clearly didn't care about the people in his life by putting someone in danger. He explained they were broken up for about 2 months, and only got back together after she sent him a message saying she had reached out to me and we had worked things out because she felt awful, but didn't expect anything from him. Now it is clear that it was just manipulation to get back together with him. More we didn't know is also that BIL hasn't been happy where he currently lives for the last year or so, and one of the reasons he often comes to visit us is because he has been considering moving to our area. So I have a feeling she has been doing all of the crazy stuff in hopes we would blame BIL, and if we were mad or low contact with him, he wouldn't move. More manipulation, I won't put it past her. BL also sent out a message to their extended family explaining the whole situation, in case she reaches out to the family, and this way, I won't have to relive the trauma surrounding an allergic reaction to explain what's been going on. I also told BIL and my fiancé about what it is like for me to have a serious allergic reaction for the first time. What it feels like and the absolute horror I go through. That was definitely the hardest part of the conversation for me. Neither my fiancé nor I blame BL. The way I see it, he is a good guy who sees the best in people and who has been manipulated by his ex. He is still more than welcome to stay with us, and with everything he told us about how he has been feeling lately, we are excited to have him stay with us, and hopefully be able to help him out with everything going on. A lot more was said and talked about, but I think these are the important parts for the update. If I have forgotten anything, I will add an edit here. Also, thank you to everyone who commented and helped me with the situation. Hopefully, this is the last part, and we can go back to focusing on our wedding. Comments. Commenter 1. Yikes. X is a awful human being. I am happy that BIL was able to see beyond her act and move on. Commenter 2. Looks like the ex-GF bit off more than she could chew, and BL finally saw the light. Kudos to him for being mature about the whole situation, and now you have a potential new housemate, win-win. Stories number 4. Keeping my sister's secret is eating me alive, and now she's turning the whole family against me. Throwaway because I don't want this tied to my main account, but I need to let it out somewhere because this is breaking me. Over a year ago, my sisters and I took a DNA test. Just for fun, those ancestry ones everyone does. And surprise, one of us has a different father. The sister it affected, I'll call her M, was shocked, understandably. We were all shocked. But she begged us not to tell our parents. We agreed because it felt like the compassionate thing to do, but ever since then, I've been living with this weight. I see my parents and feel like a liar. They talk about our childhood, family memories, and we just sit there, all pretending everything is normal. And it's not just me. The other sisters feel it too and also just want to clear the air. None of our other sisters or I care that she has a different father, nothing feels different about her being our sister. We just hate having to hide this from our parents. But no one says a word because M controls everything with her moods. Here's the thing. M has always been like this. She's the low-key bully in the family. The one who steamrolls everyone. No one ever calls her out because it's easier to just avoid the fight. Pick your battles has turned into never picking any when it comes to her. Even our parents tiptoe around her. She's 30, has a college degree, doesn't work, lives at home rent-free, doesn't date, doesn't have much of a life outside of us sisters, and yet somehow, she thinks she has authority over everything. Especially relationships. She hates men. I'm not saying she's cautious or protective, she actively hates them. She talks down about every boyfriend or husband before even meeting them. And once she meets them, she's openly rude, cold, and dismissive. Every time someone in our family gets into a relationship, we're suddenly on defense. We're constantly forced to either stand up for our partners or try to explain their every move to her. Like being in a relationship is a problem she has to approve. It's exhausting. For context, I have a chronic illness. So does my husband. And as a couple, we're really intentional about where we put our energy. We don't say yes to every family gathering. We show up when we can, but not when it's going to cost us days of recovery. Same for another sister of mine who's seeing someone new, she decided to skip a recent event too. Suddenly, that's a huge issue. My mom sent this guilt-laced message saying she was hurt we couldn't give just 3 hours. Mind you, I haven't gone to this kind of family thing in years without it being a big deal. But now it is. My husband, trying to support me, sent a calm message saying we weren't coming, and that was that. And then M exploded. She called me, screaming. She didn't ask. She didn't check in. She went straight into a full-blown tirade. My husband overheard and, yeah, he lost his temper. He told her to go F***ck herself. Was it mature? Maybe not. But after years of watching her bully everyone, I don't blame him. Now guess who everyone's mad at? Me. Not her, for screaming at me over a boundary. Not her, for constantly sabotaging every partner that gets close to our family. Me, because someone finally stood up to her. I've kept her secret for over a year. I've watched everyone around me walk on eggshells because she might get mad. I've held back, shut my mouth, let things slide to keep the peace. And for what? So she can flip out the second she doesn't get her way? Don't get me wrong, all of us sisters defend our partners, but it doesn't change anything. All of us sisters used to be super close. But now everything feels cracked and fragile. We're tired of carrying this secret. We're tired of pretending her opinion is the only one that matters. We're tired of managing her reactions like we're all responsible for her emotional regulation. I don't even know what I'm asking for. I guess just, does anyone else have a sibling like this? Someone who controls everything but somehow stays the victim. I'm sick of feeling like the villain for finally pushing back. Edit. Firstly, both our parents knew we were taking the DNA test. No one looked worried or upset in any way. A joke was even made about finding out the family secrets. So either they both know, both don't know, or my mom is sick of hiding and wanted it to come out. We aren't looking for revenge by telling the secret. It's the point that we are all very uncomfortable with keeping this secret for so long, but out of respect for her we have kept it. She doesn't have any in return. Stories number 5. My husband of 20 years is cheating on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. I, 41F, am a stay-at-home mom. My husband, 48M, whom we'll call Paul, works in finance. We have been married for nearly 20 years. We have 2 kids, whom we'll call Eric, our 18-year-old son, currently a senior in high school, and Mary, our 15-year-old daughter. They are both the lights of my life. My marriage with my husband has grown somewhat stale over the years for a myriad of reasons, such as his work schedule and how I've aged poorly since we first met. Our son, Eric, has a girlfriend, 18F, whom he's been dating since they were freshmen in high school. We'll call her Amy. Eric absolutely adores Amy. She's his first love, and she's someone I've always considered as family. This makes the whole situation emotionally excruciating for me. Last week I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen and got a glimpse of a text thread between my husband and Amy, our son's girlfriend, and I read what looked like a message of her telling him that she misses sucking his cock. I froze in place, in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day convincing myself that I must have misread what I saw. However, I didn't misread it because, over the last several days, I discovered a file on his computer filled with tons of BDSM porn. He clearly has a porn addiction. He also has saved photos of Amy from her Instagram on his computer. Although they weren't inappropriate, she was fully clothed, it was still the proof I needed to confirm that I wasn't going crazy. I also looked at his phone during opportune moments and saw more of their interactions. I wish I had never looked. They were filled with mean, horrible things said at my expense, with him constantly comparing me to her. He would call me fat and old, among other things, with Amy LOLing. I've always had hunches or paranoid feelings that Paul has been cheating on me, but never in a million years could I have fathomed something like this. Last month, I found a thong in our bedroom that I know wasn't mine. I turned a blind eye to it, being naive and acting like it was maybe our daughter's, even though that made zero sense. Not only is he cheating on me, but he's betraying our son. I'm completely devastated. I don't even think words can adequately describe the dread, anger, shock I feel right now. I'm totally overwhelmed on how to handle this because obviously action needs to be taken, but I'm terrified of what kind of psychic blow this will be for my son. I have no idea how to even broach this completely fucked up topic with him. I wouldn't wish this predicament on my worst enemy. I can't even believe I married this scumbag in the first place. And then my mind started to race, realizing that I started noticing specifically unusual behavior from him around the same time Amy turned 18. Was he waiting for her to turn 18 before pursuing this affair? There's so many layers to all of this and I'm completely paralyzed with fear and dread about it all. None of it makes any fucking sense. How did this happen? Am I that much of a stupid idiot that I let all of this happen under my watch? Eric adores Amy, and the thought of revealing this sickening truth to him terrifies me. The impact on his young heart and mind could be devastating. My heart aches for Eric and Mary, who are completely innocent bystanders. I haven't confronted my husband about this because I'm frankly scared of the domino effect. I don't know who to turn to first about this. I share my story not for sympathy, but in search of understanding and perhaps advice from those who might have had to grapple with deep betrayal. Thank you for listening. Further information from OOP. To not have my initial post be long-winded because I didn't think I needed to get into the minutiae of this, I didn't bother going into those details. How I inadvertently saw it was this: he was on his phone. He did not have iMessage open currently on the screen, but the application was still open. You know how on the iPhone when you swipe up and it shows all of the applications that are open and you can close them. When he was closing out the applications, something he does compulsively, I noticed it. It's not like he was some kind of idiotic buffoon having iMessage open for all to see. I saw he forgot he had the application running when he swiped up from a completely different app. Also, I did say in my post that I went back to his phone to actually solidify my suspicion on a different day. So you are incorrect in asserting that I'm now magically changing my story. I am being consistent. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, if she's freshly 18, isn't this illegal? There's no way they weren't doing anything illegal before she turned into an adult. Also, even if so, the age gap is over 3 decades, our husband is suspect ASF, police immediately. Reply, she's been 18 for 5 months now. I haven't been able to gauge when their affair started, I'm trying my hardest to figure that out. He deletes his texts every couple of weeks it seems like, so I haven't been able to pinpoint when this whole thing started. Additional information from OOP. Reply, thank you everyone for overwhelming support. I'm sorry if I haven't responded to your private messages, I'll get to it when I can. Dealing with a lot right now and taking a lot of steps that need to be taken. I'm trying to be smart and strategic with this truly surreal and terrible situation I'm in. I want to be clear that not telling my son about this was never something I was considering, I didn't mean to make it seem that way. I was just saying I'm intensely dreading it, but obviously it needs to be addressed. It's one part of the many steps of my overall plan. I'm currently playing dumb and collecting as much evidence as I can so I can be prepared for anything and everything. I'm going to protect myself and I'm going to make sure I don't put myself in any potential harm's way. I'll post a more thorough update soon when I can. But please know, you've all touched my heart so much and made me feel less alone. I am divorcing my husband because he cheated on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. I'm using pseudonyms for confidentiality. I shared a situation a few days ago on another subreddit involving my 41F husband, Paul, 48M, our children, Eric, 18M, and Mary, 15F. I discovered that Paul was having an affair with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend, Amy. My son has been dating her since they were freshmen in high school. My brother connected me to a very tough junkyard dog-type lawyer. I saved screenshots of all his conversations with Amy. I was only able to get the last 3 months from iCloud. The conversations were mostly flirty and dirty talk, it was hard to stomach, completely sleazy, and I saw several negative things said about me. His call history showed he talks with her for hours pretty consistently. He uses dating apps. I took screenshots of his profiles and all of the active chats he has with his matches. It's very clear he uses a filter to seek out girls who are 18 to 22 or so. I copied all of his files from the computer. He goes on sex chat rooms and forums, and he spends a ton of money on OnlyFans. I rummaged through every possible hiding spot I could think of in the house. He had various toys, blindfolds, cuffs, lubricants, etc. He also had different outfits which looked kind of like a girl's Catholic school uniform and a French-maid type outfit too. I picked up Eric and Mary from school, and we all drove to my brother's. They were able to sense something was awry when I picked them up. I delicately told them the entire situation, and I broke down crying. Mary had the most anger, even more than Eric. I met with Amy's mother and told her everything. She confiscated Amy's phone and gave me the entire chat log. It only dated back 3 months ago, like on my husband's cloud, almost as if they both deleted the messages at the same time. She told me Amy sobbed when confronted. Amy basically told her mother that she will never understand and that she and him are in love. I don't want to get into too many details with what else she was saying, but suffice to say, it's very easy to assume that my husband slowly and methodically became a sage-like figure in her life, making her feel she could rely on him, and he took advantage of the fact that she came from a broken home. Amy is also non-stop insistent that their friendship only became romantic physical recently, and before that, she said he was more of a friend and mentor. I confronted Paul over Zoom. The look on his face was scary. He became red and looked so sweaty, he had anger and panic in his eyes. His tone of voice was very defensive and frightening. He kept yelling the word context over and over again, and none of that happened. He was unable to speak without constant stutters and intensity. Nothing really made any sense to me. I refused to tell him where I was, and he said I had no right to take his kids away from him, and then he abruptly left the Zoom. My lawyer is filing for temporary sole custody of Mary and a restraining order. Mary is still the most angry. She's totally furious with her dad and Amy, justifiably so, of course. Mary is recollecting moments and times she watched her dad interact with her friends, and she's in knots about it. Eric is very clearly hurting, but he's so strong and very level-headed. He wants to see a therapist. The maturity my kids are showing makes me proud. They don't deserve this at all. We made the authorities aware of everything. I plan on being completely unforgiving and ruthless in this divorce. I'm reflecting on how I've been treated and how it's made me a shell of myself, and how I've had a very negative opinion of myself because of him over the last 20 years. I don't want to let this scumbag get away with it. I want to reinvent myself and move on stronger than ever. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, how is your son holding up? What has developed between him and Amy? Reply, he hasn't spoken to Amy yet since finding out the news, and I'm not sure if he ever will again. Commenter 2, have you confirmed if the thong you found was Amy's? The situation is fucked up. Reply, I confirmed that it wasn't my daughter's. She said it wasn't hers, and I know it wasn't mine. So who else's could it be? Commenter 3, wait. Are you saying that they fucked in the master bedroom? Commenter 4, don't cheaters always use their married bed? Reply, yes, I believe he did. OOP adds in the comments. Reply, both me and my son are going to get tested and checked out as well. There's no telling how many different women he's been sleeping around with. As for Amy, her mom has been in contact with me, and Amy has been threatening to run away with him because they are in love. Update 2. Thank you again for all the love and encouragement. It gives me comfort and means so much to me. I've received many comments and messages accusing me of faking this story, which oddly also provides comfort because all of this feels unreal even to me. It validates my own feelings that there are people out there who can't even fathom this being true. I wish it were fake. I've been focusing on and worrying about how others are feeling over this, somewhat ignoring my own feelings, which I'm trying to change. I range from anger to numbness like a light switch. We're all safe and still at my brother's house. We're very careful, and his house is secured. Paul has tried to call my cell phone several times a day. I am refusing to interact with him, and I will have my lawyer handle all correspondence. He scares me, frankly. My brother has a very secure house with an alarm system and deadbolt locks. We feel safe with him. Both my son and I got checked out and tested. It appears so far that we're both clean based on the immediate rapid tests, but in the coming days, we'll know for certain when the lab results come in. I'm not overly concerned. Eric is scheduled to see a therapist early next week, which is very good and needed. He's not himself right now, he seems a bit shell-shocked, and I am concerned. He internalizes a lot, and it's hard to get a read on what's going on in his head. That being said, he's thoughtful and has been talking with me, asking me how I'm doing and everything. He's not interested in corresponding with his dad at all. He calls only my cell phone, and he hasn't tried to reach out to either Eric or Mary. I get the sense that Paul is extremely nervous. He's scared, and I think he deep down knows that if investigated thoroughly, he would be in big trouble. That's what my gut is telling me. I still think about the Zoom call with him, and the more I think about it, the more it looked like he was a man whose entire world was crashing down on him. The panic in his face was very apparent. I offered Mary for me to make an appointment with a therapist as well, but she doesn't want to see one yet. She said she's open to it eventually but wants time to herself. She's been asking her friends about her dad and if they experienced any creepiness from him. Her friends were open and honest with her, and apparently, they felt like he stared a lot and sensed his hovering presence whenever they were over. One of Mary's friends went so far as to say that she felt like he was checking her out a lot, like looking at her rear and complimenting the color of her yoga pants. At the time, no issue was brought up about it, but in light of everything that has been happening, it seems strange now. He would sit himself in different areas or vantage points to get a good view of her, she claimed. He also asked questions about what kind of friend group or which clique they were in at school. He kept asking about if they were popular girls. I'm completely embarrassed that they had this experience at our house. As for updates on Amy, which is the main reason why I wanted to write this update, I completely agree that she is also a victim. A lot of people have been emphasizing that, and I agree. I've done everything I could in my own power to indirectly get her opportunities to get help. Like I said, I told her mother, and she's been updating me on everything. Amy, unfortunately, is still living in her deluded reality and I can only pray that she'll eventually come to her senses. She doesn't want to see any doctors or therapists at all and has been constantly trying to reach Paul because, again, she believes that they are in love. From what I've been told, she hasn't been able to get hold of him, and he's been avoiding communication with her completely. Amy blames me for that and believes I took away his devices and am very controlling. Any truth that her mother tries to convey to her is met with conspiracy theories and hostility. Amy looks at me as a villain and still sees Paul through rose-colored glasses. Her mother showed her screenshots of his dating app profiles and matches, and she refuses to believe it, saying I photoshopped it. According to her mom, Amy keeps saying things like everyone is just mad because she found herself a real man, and that I'm jealous because she takes better care of him than I do. It's in line with some of the conversations I screenshot, where a lot of what Paul says is him complaining about things I don't do for him sexually. Right now, she's insistent that she and Paul will be together in the long run. Ugh, he's honestly a slimeball. I can only hope that Amy comes to her senses, but me directly intervening doesn't feel like it would be productive at the moment, maybe eventually though. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I'm so sorry that this happened to you. Reading all the previous posts, I honestly get the vibe that your husband wasn't a very good one to begin with. Someday, when you're ready, you're going to find someone who thinks you're glorious as you age. Your son is also going to be okay. He's gotten a lesson on exactly how men shouldn't behave. A painful one, but in time, he's going to realize that Amy was groomed and abused. It sounds like she was vulnerable, and your ex took advantage of a child who was in a bad situation. Hopefully once Amy has had some time to process just how messed up this was, she'll tell the police the whole story. I fully believe something was happening before she turned 18. Reply, I believe stuff happened before she was 18 too. Commenter 2, do you think they kept that relationship secret for most of Eric and Amy's relationship? What a disgusting father and pig if that is truth. Reply, I'm not sure when things got actually physical or romantic, but I do think his grooming started as soon as she came into the picture when Eric started dating her freshman year. This, mentor and a friend, that Amy alluded to had to start right away, and the way she's acting now, being so indebted and believing every single thing he says, shows that his effect on her had to be over a long period of time. She only turned 18 like 5 months ago, her behavior and infatuation for him seems so strong that it couldn't possibly be only 5 months of them being together. Commenter 3, if they are consenting adults then there is nothing to report. This is a personal problem that needs to be dealt with by attorneys and the people involved. People are way too jumpy to snap to the police to fix their problems anymore. OP is handling this the correct way, if any legal issues come into play then her attorney will do the right thing. Reply, the only thing we can really hang our hat on is the possibility of Amy having an epiphany of the reality of her situation and she opens up candidly about when it began. But because she's 18 currently and has no interest in saying or doing anything that could potentially put Paul in legal trouble, nothing really can be done. Unless they find out about other girls that I have no idea about yet. Update 3. The support, again, has been overwhelming, and I'm very grateful. Sadly, I've received a lot of negative accusatory harassing private messages from people here who think I'm faking this story. Someone made a comment on some post somewhere, claiming that my story has been debunked, and people believe that person. I've seen an uptick in negative messages accusing me of making this up for money. I'm not asking for money at all, coming here was completely rooted in emotional desperation, and I didn't expect anyone to get invested in my story this way. But again, I'm not looking for anything out of this. I have no reason to lie, I'm not gaining anything from this. If you don't believe me, that's fine, I don't care, but the only thing I ask is to not cross the line and start sending me private messages that are mean-spirited or accusatory. The only reason I'm continuing to post is because of those of you who've sent me love here, and the support really lifted my spirits. As for the divorce, it's very much underway. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it all because it's ongoing, and I want to make sure everything is going to go smoothly. I got temporary custody of Mary. Paul also has to pay temporary child support. There's a protective order, Paul can't contact us or come near us. Right now, we're just focusing on getting through this legal mess. Again, not getting into specifics because I don't want to mess anything up, but what I'll say is I'm very confident, divorce aside, that there's overwhelming evidence against Paul that will get him in serious trouble and it will impact him for the rest of his life. I'm sure eventually I can share more about that. I know a lot of people are concerned about his predatory ways, and I just wanted to convey this, even though I have to be vague right now. Justice will come. All of your concern about how my kids are doing psychologically means a lot to me. Eric has been to therapy twice over the last 2 weeks. I know some people thought I was dismissive of him and acting like he's doing okay. I very much know that he's hurting internally, and we're doing everything we can to make sure he knows he is supported and loved. My brother has been amazing in spending time with Eric and Mary, and both of them have confided in him about a lot. My brother has a very healthy marriage, and both he and his wife have really stepped up to the plate for all of us. Mary has not seen a therapist yet, but she promises that she will be open to seeing one soon. Her anger has mostly turned into sadness, I noticed, and I hope I can get her to see a therapist soon. Her friends have played a key role in this whole thing, and that's something that Mary has been grappling with as well. I know a lot of people are invested in the well-being of Amy as well. There were a lot of questions about whether Eric and Amy would still see each other at school. It sounded like they go to the same school, but they do not. Eric and Amy went to the same junior high school and knew each other even then, but Amy ended up going to an all-girls Catholic high school while Eric, and Mary too, stayed in the public school system. We all lived in the same town, and over the summer heading into freshman year is when they were getting to know each other and when they started dating. I wish I had a better Amy update, but it's gotten a lot worse since the last update. Paul has actually been seeing Amy, despite her mother trying to force her not to see him. She tells me that Amy says she's 18 and an adult, and she can do what she wants. Her mother is in a precarious spot because if she kicks Amy out of the house for defying her, something that she has threatened to do, which I think is a mistake, she would just run to Paul permanently. The time she spends with Paul has increased over the last week, despite the fact that Paul initially ghosted her when all of this first hit the fan. There were some days where Amy would just be gone for hours on end. There's only so much I could do with the Amy situation, but again, I do believe things will turn around soon with that, given what I know about Paul and what's to come. I can only pray that Amy can get help and guidance when more shit hits the fan. I'm doing everything I can with my own kids and my own mental health, and Amy's mom knows she has my support, and that's all I could really provide. Top comments. Commenter 1, TBH, the only way that Amy will see how messed up Paul is when he eventually sleeps with someone else or he accuses her of seducing him. Even if he ends as a sex offender, if that's enough to convince her that he's a creep and dangerous. Now I'm curious to what Paul's intentions are. He ghosted her and now all of a sudden they're meeting up again. Worst case scenario, he's gonna have her falsely testify, which I don't think will take much convincing Amy. Honestly, you and Amy's mom did what you could. The best thing Amy's mom could do is sit and wait, but don't kick her out. Let her know she'll be there for Amy and she'll still have a roof over her head. And pray she snaps out of it soon instead of years later when she has burned bridges and wasted her life on a man who took advantage and ruined everyone else's lives. Commenter 2, take care of yourself and please don't stress about these internet trolls. They are mean, heartless, soulless humans that have nothing better to do in life than tear people down that are already hurting. Though I'm also a stranger, your story moved me and I'm so sad that you have to go through this. Please take care of yourself too. Sounds like both kids are doing okay now, but you need to be well too. Update 4, my predatory ex-husband fled to Cambodia, my kids and I are still here and going to therapy, April 14, 2025. I'm sorry it's been so long since my last update. I didn't expect to continue to have this overwhelming amount of support from people for this long, thank you so much. I've gotten so many messages on here that I haven't been able to respond to. So I wanted to share an update with how everything is on my end and my kids' end. So quick recap for those who might not remember what my story is. My husband, Paul, cheated on me with our son, Eric's 18-year-old girlfriend, Amy. When they were caught, he unraveled at the seams. It was clear that he groomed her for years. He had saved dozens of photos of her from Instagram, kept a secret folder of BDSM porn on his computer, and I eventually discovered screenshots and chat logs between them that were beyond disturbing, graphic messages, hours-long phone calls, even them mocking me behind my back. When I confronted him over Zoom, he melted down, sweating, stuttering, yelling the word context over and over again. It was a level of panic I've never seen in my life. I filed for divorce. I took our kids, Eric, and our daughter, Mary, and we left. We stayed at my brother's house. I met with Amy's mother, who confiscated her phone and confirmed everything I'd suspected. Amy told her they were in love. She refused therapy, pushed everyone away, and insisted I was jealous and trying to ruin their relationship. Paul ignored Amy for a while, but eventually they started seeing each other again. She was 18 and legally couldn't be stopped. Meanwhile, I worked with a lawyer. I filed for full custody, and we began building a case. Paul kept trying to contact me directly, but I refused to speak to him. We moved forward with the divorce, even as more disturbing things came to light, his behavior with Mary's friends, the comments, the hovering, the pattern. It was all there, in hindsight. Mary and Eric were both traumatized and they are still in therapy a year later about it. The amount of scorched earth Paul caused is mind-boggling to me. I'm still rattled by it and I don't think I will ever recover, to be honest. Paul and Amy dated for several months after we started the divorce proceedings. I tried my hardest to keep in touch with Amy's mom to see if there was anything we can do for her to realize Paul's predatory behavior and maybe speak out against him to see if he slept with her or did anything to her when she was younger, but she refused to talk about anything. She was in love still. Just a few weeks before the divorce was supposed to finalize, Paul disappeared. He drained what was left of our shared accounts, what I hadn't already locked down, and left. We found out later that he bought a one-way ticket to Phnom Penh, Cambodia. I had no idea. I got a notification from the financial tracking alert my lawyer set up. That was it. We were close to finalizing everything. I had full custody of Mary. He wasn't contesting anything. Then he stopped replying. Didn't show up to court. Never filed anything. Nothing. It was like he just dissolved. Amy, according to her mother, was devastated and she's completely gone mentally right now. She's basically nomadic, sleeping at friends' homes around the area. Refusing to come home. My lawyer pushed for a default judgment, and the court granted it. The divorce is technically finalized now. I have custody. He's in violation of the support order, but none of it matters. He's gone. Cambodia has no extradition treaty. No child support enforcement. Nothing. There's no way to make him come back. No way to make him pay anything. We have no actual clue where he is in Cambodia. One thing that chills me to my core is how notorious Cambodia is when it comes to trafficking minors. Eric's in college. He keeps his distance from everything to do with Paul. He doesn't say much, but he's steady. I know it still hurts. He just doesn't show it. Mary's quiet about it too. She still brings up little things sometimes, things she remembers now in a different light. She asked me the other night if I thought Paul would come back. I didn't answer. I don't think she really wanted me to. I don't know what Paul's doing in Cambodia. I don't know who he's talking to, or what his life looks like now. I've had a few people tell me to report him to the FBI or try to push for an international investigation. I've made the calls. I've filed what I could. But there's only so much they can do when someone hasn't technically committed a crime that's provable in the US. I don't believe he left the country just to avoid alimony. I think he's a predator and I think he's a criminal. That's all for now. I don't have much else to give. I'm still here. My kids are still here. And we're trying. Thanks to everyone for their concern and care. It really warms me, it means so much to me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, thank you for this update. I think about you and your kids frequently. You alluded to him being in legal trouble in your prior posts. Is this why he fled? Reply, just my gut feeling that he fled because I think he's been with minors. Commenter 2, from what I've learned studying criminology, there's often a pattern to behaviors of people like your ex. I really think he will be back and that he will get caught. Maybe him fleeing is a blessing in disguise, because that puts an actual physical barrier between your family and him. As a mom, woman, well, hopefully decent human being, I would like to thank you for doing the best you could to protect everyone. It must have hurt so much. It's now time for you. For your healing. I wish you all the best and all the happiness you can have. Edit, may I just quickly add something regarding Amy, maybe you need to hear it? You have done everything you could. There's a moment in horrible situations like this when we just need to step back and allow people involved make their own decisions. And let ourselves have some breathing space from everyone's feelings. It often sucks, because we want to just grab them and shake them by their shoulders until they click into sanity, but your body needs to recover, too. Your nervous system needs to recover. Eat well and sleep plenty. I really hope that there's no guilt involved on your part, because if her life is awful from this point on, it's your ex's fault. And I hope that you know it. Commenter 3, give as much information as you possibly can to Interpol about this monster. I'm so happy you and your kids are hanging in there. I think about you often. Stories number 6. Aita for hiding the location of my best friend from my wife. About 5 years ago, I moved about 15 hours away from my hometown for a job. Shortly after moving, I met my now wife, Becca. A few years ago, I had a buddy, JR, from back home come stay with me. While here, he met my wife's sister, Maggie. JR and Maggie hit it off. They pretty quickly started dating. Maggie has a daughter from a previous relationship. Daughter's dad is very much in the picture. Almost a year ago, Maggie and JR moved in together. At the time, Maggie was living with her parents because she could not afford rent on her own. Things seemed to be going well. It is a long story, but almost 2 months ago, JR got pretty irrefutable proof that Maggie was cheating on him. He was angry, depressed, and overall distraught. He could not deal with confronting her, but he could also not deal with living with her. He talked to me and wanted my help to get away. So, I reached out to my network of people, who are not mutual friends of Becca and I, to get him a place to stay. Becca, Maggie, Maggie's daughter, and my MIL were going out of town to visit MIL's mom a few weeks after he found out. I had a work friend with a rent house. I helped JR pack his stuff, which was like 90% of the apartment, and he moved out. He sent an email to Maggie about why he moved out. He left a check for rent and utilities through the end of March when their lease is up and informed the landlord that he was not renewing. Maggie got the email and called JR numerous times while on the trip. My wife called me and asked what was going on and where was JR. I told her that JR moved out and he was safe, but I will not tell her where he is. They got back and Maggie flipped about all the stuff JR took. My wife was quite angry and demanded to know where JR was. I kept telling her that he is safe, but I am not telling her where he is. The last month has been tense and my wife has begged and made threats to know where JR is. She has even tried using my phone to impersonate me to call JR and get information. I have since changed my passcode. She says, "We are married, this is affecting my family, I deserve to know." I refuse. She has even talked about this being divorceable. Edit. 1. My wife knows why JR left. 2. Maggie has admitted since he left that she was cheating. 3. My wife denies know about the cheating and I do believe her. Historically, Maggie and Becca are not close. Prior to JR moving here, we would see Maggie maybe once every 3-ish months. Since JR moved, we see her a lot more because JR and I regularly organized get-togethers. Which is why my wife's reaction is surprising to me. 4. The stuff JR took was only his stuff. In fact, a lot of stuff he left is also his stuff. Other than gadgets, he left all the kitchen stuff despite it being 100% his. He left all the stuff in my niece's room, even though he paid for a lot of it. Update. Weeks after the post, Becca let slip that I knew where JR is located. This caused a slew of harassment from Maggie and my MIL. I refused to tell them where he is. Some choice words were exchanged between Maggie and I told her she is not allowed in my house until she apologizes. She refuses, so I have not seen her or my in-laws in about a month. Since the end of March, Maggie has been living again with my in-laws. Becca tried to get me to agree to let Maggie and my niece move in, but I refused based on the conflict I have with Maggie and Becca's behavior the last couple of months. Becca explained to me why she has been behaving the way she has the last couple of months. Maggie's ex has said that if Maggie moves back in with my in-laws, he is going to go for full custody of my niece. The neighborhood where the in-laws live is rough and there is a fair bit of conflict between Maggie and my FIL. Since moving back in, my niece's dad's lawyer has reached out and indicated that they are going for full custody. Becca is blaming me and JR for this. She is convinced that if they knew he was leaving, they could work something out to keep them together, or at least, keep Maggie in the apartment. I do not think that is the case at all. JR is still processing things, but was willing now to speak to Maggie, so he reached out a couple of weeks ago. This past weekend, Maggie and JR spoke via FaceTime. Maggie wanted an in-person meeting, but JR absolutely refused. Maggie apologized and tried to get JR to reconsider for my daughter. JR refused. Maggie had an emotional outburst and JR hung up on her. There is no plan for him to speak to her again. Stories number 7. How to tell my friend I think her 8-year-old son is dangerous. Occasionally, I let my 6-year daughter play with my friend's 9-year son and I've started to notice some concerning behavior on his part. There were 3 things in particular that I witnessed while they playing on separate occasions recently. The first was when they were playing in my daughter's above-ground foldable pool. He was trying to convince my daughter to play a game where they took turns holding each other's head under the water. A drowning game, in his own words. I stepped in immediately and told them both no, that will not be happening. His own grandmother was there at the time to witness this instance and she gave him a very half-hearted reprimand which I found baffling. It set off alarm bells in my head instantly, but I eventually let it go under the premise of children simply doing stupid things because I remembered that games like the pass-out challenge were a thing when I was a kid. The second instance I was not around to witness, but I saw the aftermath. My daughter asked if she could go over by my friend's house to play with her son. I asked my friend and she agreed, so I carried my daughter over. My daughter brought one of her dolls with her, a Cabbage Patch Kid. I didn't stay over with them because this wasn't the first time our children have had play dates by the other's house. I trust my friend. I've known her for the better part of 10 years. About 2 hours later I picked up my daughter and went home. When we got inside I noticed the state of her doll and was horrified. The hair had been cut off and there was marker all over it. I wasn't upset, just shocked. It's my daughter's doll. She could play with it however she likes. When I inspected the doll further I saw the words, "I kill you," written on the arm. I knew it wasn't my daughter's handwriting, but I still asked her if she wrote it just in case. She told me no, my friend's son wrote it. I was concerned and wondered if to address the situation immediately, but same as I am now I am unsure of where to even begin. Eventually some weeks passed and I forgot it had happened. The last and most recent instance happened by my house. My friend brought her son over to play while she ran some errands. While they were playing in the front yard I saw the boy hold my daughter by her clothes and do stabbing motions. I stopped the game immediately, reprimanded them both and called my friend. I lied and said I had an emergency to sort out and that she needed to pick up her son now. She came by and picked him up without issue. I am never letting my daughter near that boy after this under any circumstances, even if it's at the cost of my friendship. Still, I'm concerned for my friend and her safety and for the safety of other children that her son plays with. This isn't normal behavior for an 8-year. I'm unsure of how to tell my friend these things. Should I do it over the phone, through text, or face to face? She can be a bit of a volatile person at times. I remember a distinct instance where she pulled out a knife on her ex-husband as a matter of fact. This is just a very delicate situation and I need some help on how to go about it because I truly think that boy is mentally disturbed and dangerous and needs help. Edit. I didn't think this post would blow up so fast, but thank you for the advice. I feel a lot more confident in how I should go about this. For those of you that shared your experiences, thank you. There are also some things I'd like to address. I made an error. The child is 9, not 8. He turned 9 recently. Sorry for that slip up. For people casting judgment on me for letting my child play with another child 3 years older than her. They've been playmates for the past 2 years without issue. These events are very recent, as of the past 3 months or so. My daughter is not scared of him and actually asks to play with him or visit him often. In all the instances I described in the post she didn't appear to be scared and she didn't tell me she was scared. Pertaining to what I will be doing moving forward, I will be calling my friend over the phone to break this tough conversation in a bit and gauge her reaction before I even think of having this discussion face to face. I've decided after reading through as many comments as I could I will explain to her as gently as possible that her son is exhibiting some concerning behavior. I will tell her what I've seen and heard. I will tell her that I think he might be in need of some kind of counseling, and I will do all of that without placing any blame. I want to avoid offending her because I genuinely want her to listen and not get pissed at me for insinuating she's a bad mother or something. I want that boy to get genuine help. I'm unsure of if I want to involve CPU, that's what it is in my country, as I'm really unaware of their procedures. I need to look into it more and I will. I also cannot involve his school or teachers because most schools in my country are unisex, so they aren't in the same school. I can't waltz in to warn teachers about a child who is not my own, especially if I myself have no child in that school. Another thing, I read some comments saying this post is fake due to the post history on this account. This isn't my account. There's your simple answer. It's a throwaway account of a friend. I just didn't want to make my own. Believe me or not, it's up to you. It doesn't really change what I'm here for. Edit 2. Forgot to address this. When I described my friend as volatile, I meant it in a way that I think if I address this the wrong way she can react very badly. She does have a history of reacting badly to situations. That's what I was trying to point out with ex-husband bit. Worst yet if it involves her son. This woman has been there for me through some very hard times in my life. She's been my #1 supporter since my daughter was born and my ex-husband left us. She visited me at the hospital when I gave birth. She helped me through my postpartum depression. We have a very rich friendship. She always helped me. So consider that before judging me for trusting her with my daughter. If I have to cut her off, I would be doing so with a very heavy heart, but I will do whatever is best for my daughter. Stories number 8. Aita for telling my mom it wasn't cute or funny to dress me as a hot dog instead of a princess. So there's this new Target commercial going around where a little girl dresses as a hot dog, and it came on while my family was watching a scary movie. I, 20F, am home from college for the weekend and brought my boyfriend, and my mother, 57F, decided it would be hilarious to mention that she'd made me a hot dog costume as a kid, except the way she told the story, it was my request. She said that all the girls wanted to be Disney princesses, but I had asked to be a hot dog, and so she'd gone out of her way to make me that costume. This is not what happened, and I said as much. What actually happened is that I wanted to be Snow White, and had told everyone, including the teachers, that I was going to be Snow White. I was obsessed with that movie as a kid, to the point where I would actually get invested in doing chores because I was cleaning up just like Snow White. My dad and I would watch that movie all the time, and I was very excited to be Snow White for Halloween, especially because my ballet studio was doing a special princess dance for Halloween and we'd all signed up for special princess slots, and I'd shown up early with my dad the week before so I could get to be Snow White. My mother decided that she wanted to be quirky and that Snow White was a bad role model after I got in trouble for trying to cook dinner for my family. I was about 8, and I tried to make hot dogs, like how she made food for the dwarves in the movie, and I made a mess. My mom surprised me on the day of with this crappy hot dog suit, and told me if I didn't wear it she'd never let me watch Snow White again. She took a million pictures, the other girls teased me for months, and it was one of the most humiliating moments of my childhood. I told the real story, and mentioned that I got through the day by pretending that she was the evil queen making me dress in rags, but the rags happened to be a garbage meat costume. She got really quiet after that, and after we left, my brother says she was crying and looking at the pictures from that Halloween. I didn't want to make my mom cry, but it's a shitty memory for me and it felt like she was trying to humiliate me all over again in front of my boyfriend. TLDR, I called my mom out for forcing me to be a hot dog for Halloween and humiliating me as a child after she brought up the story pretending I'd wanted to be. Aita comments. She hated Snow White and Cinderella and Aurora. She was kind of okay with Belle, and really pushed Mulan and Merida on me, but those weren't the ones I was interested in. She generally hated everything I liked, and was really into the whole Cinderella ate my daughter thing. She wanted us to be allies against the other moms of the town we lived in, and I just wanted her to be like the other moms honestly because they were nicer. She wanted a different kind of kid than I was. It got a little better once I hit high school and she turned her focus on my brother and finally let me try out for cheerleading instead of basketball, but middle school and before, she was constantly trying to mold me into some sort of counterculture girl who she could say was so much smarter and better than the other girls. It made it hard to make friends, and once I had those friends, it felt like she was sabotaging it constantly because she thought they were beneath me for having the same interests I had. My dad was at work a lot when I was a kid and had to fight for Christmas and our birthdays off. Halloween was not something he'd be around for. My boyfriend told my mom that I was not the kind of girl who'd have ever liked something like that, and later on called me Snow White all night and promised he'd love me and I'd be beautiful no matter what ugly rags the wicked queen put me in. Apparently she was bullied a lot in school or something and wanted me to grow up daring to be different or something. I hadn't thought about it in ages until I saw that commercial honestly. She probably convinced herself once I was in the costume I'd love it and feel special and unique, but it never did go that way. I never did get to be Snow White, but I've had pretty awesome costumes since then. I'm going as Barbie this year. In my mom's version, I hated the other girls in town as much as she hated the other women and wanted to be a weird kid because she wanted to be a weird mom who doesn't like housework or makeup or dresses. I learned makeup from a friend's mom, I learned basic house skills from YouTube, and I never had clothes I actually liked unless I asked her relatives for them for Christmas or my birthday. It sucked. My mom always insists I was a tomboy and that TikTok ruined her, but seems to forget that all the evidence of me ever being like that was stuff she forced me to do despite often very loud protests. Update. Hi everyone. First off, I wanted to give a big thank you to all the people who reached out with kindness back in October. I was struggling a lot with whether I'd done the right thing, and getting such an overwhelming consensus definitely helped me feel better. There wasn't actually that much fallout from the whole situation, and I kind of forgot about it for a few months. My mom was a little awkward the next few times we saw each other, but that was all back to normal by Christmas. It didn't destroy our relationship, and I realized that a lot of my fears were just anxiety and overthinking clouding my mind. My brother made a few snide remarks, but I didn't get or give an apology and I figured that was that. However, last weekend my mom picked me up from work, and took me to her place, saying she had a surprise and I should shower and do my hair fancy. She had all the nicest skincare and hair stuff laid out, which means a lot because she's never been into that stuff, and when I was done, she surprised me with the most gorgeous Snow White dress I've ever seen. It is genuinely stunning quality and I couldn't believe it was actually for me. She was all dressed up as the Wicked Queen too, with the cowl and everything, and she took me to see the new Snow White movie together. When I tell you I almost cried, I'm not exaggerating. It was one of the best days I've ever had with her, and I felt like a legit princess. When little girls came up and asked for pictures, I swear, I've never enjoyed anything that much. I might actually try and get a job as a party princess if I can swing it, just because of how great this experience was. After the movie, which by the way is better than most people are saying, I hated the new love interest but Rachel killed it. She apologized for not taking my feelings into consideration when I was younger, and explained that she has always wanted me to feel like I could be anyone I wanted to be, and didn't have to conform, but what she did ended up being a form of formed conformation itself, and if I want to be a princess, she's going to do her best to help me feel like the best princess in the world. She did explain that the hot dog costume wasn't meant to be a punishment. She honestly thought I'd think it was funny, but that she should never have gone that far without making sure I liked it, and she didn't actually ever intend to take Snow White away. I believe this. She seems truly apologetic, and I told her that she is 200% forgiven. So, things are good. I'm glad I spoke up when I did, and I think my mom and I are gonna be closer now, honestly. She's a good person and I'm really grateful to have a mother like her. Thank you. Notable comments. Commenter 1. Yay to your mum, my goodness, she's done some work there thinking about all that and planning how to apologize. She must love you very, very much. So pleased it's worked out well. Reply. Commenter 2. This is such a wonderful update. It's so nice to hear that not only did your mum listen to what you said and how it hurt you, but she then did such a good thing to make up for it. Her dressing up as the evil queen really is the icing on the cake. Reply. She looked good too. It was awesome seeing her go all out like this. It really did heal something in me. Stories number 9. My boss sent me an email at 4 a.m. for an event I needed to attend by 7 a.m. My workday starts at 8. Now she wants to meet with me tomorrow. My boss is notorious for never reading an email. Over the past year, she has sent me multiple emails asking questions, when the answers could be found in the email she was already responding to. This all came to a head with a conference. She asked me if I wanted to attend a conference and I responded yes. She then asked if I would register everyone for the event. I asked for details about the registration. She forwarded an email with these details, and that email also contained many questions. Knowing her, I asked her if she had responded to those questions. She replied, "What questions?" Literally scroll up and look at the email. Now, having been made aware of these questions by me, she asked me to respond to them. One question was if we wanted to host a booth at the conference, which she said yes. I responded with answers and checked it off my list. She received an email late March stating they hadn't received our registration yet and that they needed it by April 1st. She forwarded me this communication April 2nd and asked me to handle it. No, I didn't forget. The conference had a tech issue and I cleared it up. But she sent me the email to handle this after it was already late. This was the last communication I received about this conference until 4 a.m. day of the event. I logged on at the start of my workday at 8 a.m. to see 2 emails from her. 1, a forward at 4 a.m., dated over a week prior, with details for setup for the booth and how it started at 7 a.m. Mind you, the conference is an hour drive for me. At 6 a.m., another email, asking if I had everything good to go for our booth. When I logged on at 8 a.m., I replied and said due to not receiving this information until this morning, I would not have time to go back to the office and retrieve the booth materials and still arrive at the conference on time. I shut my computer and drove to the conference. When I arrived, I had a pretty nasty email from her stating she had asked me to handle the booth, so of course we would be having one and that I needed to go back to the office and get it. I replied that I was driving and now arrived at the conference, and that there was a box at the other office, 10 minutes away from the conference that she could grab on her way in. She did grab it and we had a booth. She came up to me at the conference asking what had gone wrong and I told her simply that I did not have this information until this morning and planned my workday around the information I had. She has now asked for a meeting with me tomorrow morning. I feel as though she is going to try to place blame on me here and I don't know how to respectfully tell her this is her fault. She did not provide me the info, she did not ask me to bring anything, she asked me to respond to an email which I did. I want to express my frustration in how her lack of reading an email has continuously created more work that either gets trashed because she didn't read the info and now has scrapped the project after the work was completely done, or makes me have to make last-minute stressful adjustments for information she had weeks ago and never sent. But I also can't get fired in this job economy. What do I do when she inevitably places the blame of this on me tomorrow? Edit to add, this is an incredibly small company. 20 to 25 people. We do not have an HR and there is no one above her. Top comment. Commenter, I'd prepare a document with a timeline of what happened on the project, when it was sent to her and when you received it. Tell her you're glad you've had the chance to sit down about this, as you think you've identified where the communication breakdown was. Go through the timeline and factually state what happened. She literally cannot argue with this. Do not raise your voice or get passionate, keep it calm and neutral. Tell her the fact you're not receiving correspondence in a timely manner is causing extra work and unneeded stress. Give a few examples, neutral tone. Ask her if moving forwards, if you are dealing with a project, please could correspondence be sent directly to yourself and you will CC to boss where needed, and if things do come in via her inbox you get sent them in a timely manner and not at 4 a.m. the morning of. If she fights back, just calmly state, all I am requesting is that I am given access in a timely manner to the information I need to perform well at my job. I don't believe this is unreasonable, I want to do a good job but I need you to set me up for success by sharing essential information. I cannot stress how much tone is vital to this conversation. No one likes being told they are the problem, so keep any frustration or emotion out of it and state everything calmly or she'll get defensive. Reply, thank you, I will be too nervous to yell or raise my voice so I'm not worried about that, but I am worried I will shut down and just take the blame and these frustrations will continue. Commenter, HR, immediately. Reply, it's an incredibly small company, we don't have an HR. OOP's boss's boss. There is no one above her. Very small company. Commenter, do you have an office manager? Ours doubles as our HR. If you can't have a witness in the meeting, then record the call, that way you at least have proof of the conversation if she tries to spin this. The good news is if she does try and fire you over not checking your email at 4 a.m., then you can sue them into the ground. Reply, now I'm sus if this is why she asked to meet in person so I couldn't record it. Usually our Monday meetings are virtual. Sane commenter, wow, what a snake. Look up your state laws, some have one-party consent to recording audio. If yours is a two-party consent state, then you can tell her at the start of your meeting that you'd like to record the conversation. If she says no, or you aren't comfortable doing that because I don't think I'm that brave, then try to find a third person to be in that meeting. Reply, thank you so much. I looked it up and we are a one-party consent state. I will be recording the meeting. Commenter, in registering for the conference and booth you didn't learn the dates and times. She told you to handle it. To me that would include you following up to ensure you handled it. Did you not use your email and or contact info to sign up? Reply, I was aware of the conference time, which is what I prepped for. The booth setup was hours before that, which was sent in a separate email only to her. She told me to respond to the email about wanting a booth. The email claiming she asked me to handle it was after I told her I did not have time to go to the office, as at that time I was unaware her expectation was for me to prepare the booth. She only asked me to tell them we wanted one and had no other communication with me about the booth. I emailed in response to the questions, but she was a speaker and sponsor at the event, so she was their point of contact. They did not include me on any communications about the event. All came forwarded from her. But thank you, because I expect that is exactly what she will say to me tomorrow. Commenter, I'm pretty surprised you didn't bother to follow up, to be honest. You knew it was a yes to a booth and surely knew it would need to be set up before the conference started. Did you check with her if she'd received anything further in the days before, knowing what she is like? Did you try contacting the conference directly to find out what was happening? To me this reads like you both dropped the ball. Reply, I feel it shouldn't be my responsibility to manage her and check in on if she is doing her job correctly. I am her subordinate, even knowing what she is like, it is still her responsibility to do her job. Yes, I could have followed up. But I have many other things that I juggle and this was outside of my normal scope, so I made sure to add the task to my checklist, and when I sent the email I checked it off. I fulfilled my duties with the task I was asked to do. This was not a typical place we would host a booth for, so my brain was on attending the conference as that's what was asked of me. There was zero communication that I was in charge of setup. If that was the expectation, I needed the details before 4 a.m. day of. Could I have managed my manager? Yes. But should I be reprimanded for not doing her job for her? I don't think that's right. Update post. To clear some things up for those of you claiming I lack initiative and this was on me, I have started many projects from day one that have been solely on me and my ideas. I've started committees and implemented new marketing that has been wildly successful, simply because I saw the need for it at the org. You also seem to have missed the part where I say I frequently get the go-ahead for projects, but because she didn't read the email fully, after completion of the project she scraps it. I understand that this can look like lack of initiative, but trust me, if you knew all the ins and outs about this organization you would not think that. Many of my coworkers have these same issues with her. It's illogical to blame all of us when the common denominator is her. To those asking why I did not follow up, hindsight is 20/20, and yes, there was more I could do to ensure all ran smoothly, but at the end of the day, that is her job. I already caught many mistakes on this conference alone, like the fact that she didn't even read the questions to begin with. To talk about how jobs require to manage up seems like a way to blame low-level employees for the mistakes of their managers. If you don't have the ability to manage, don't be a manager. Plain and simple. The wording to me was to respond to the questions. After the 4 a.m. email, she claimed she asked me to handle it. Had this been the wording from the beginning, maybe this would have ended differently. Many of you are saying she delegated the entire conference to me, and this was not the case. She asked me to do 2 things which I did. Not to mention, in the past when I have followed up to ensure she has gotten things done, she responds very irritated as if I am implying she cannot do her job. This conference is not the typical place we would host a booth for, so after completing my task, it left my brain. It was also outside of my normal scope of work. I've had many managers who are great at their job, and I love being able to take stuff off their plate and make their day easier. I cannot do that with someone who does not communicate and does not manage. To those asking why I didn't call her instead of emailing and leaving, she was in a meeting and I had to leave within 5 minutes to attend the conference on time. To those saying if she's responding to emails at 4 a.m. she must be swamped with work, so give her a break. She frequently boasts about how she works unusual hours. It is normal for me to wake up with many emails from her during that time and not be able to reach her in the afternoon. No, I am not an on-call employee. All in all, with how frequently she doesn't read emails, this was bound to happen one day, so it's frustrating that many of you are blaming me and expecting me to magically know the details of emails I never received. But I do appreciate your perspective. Now to the conversation. It went very well for what it was. I built it up in my head based on previous experiences with her. There still seemed to be some notions of her trying to blame me and saying she had handed this off to me, and so she didn't look at her other emails related to it thinking I had it handled. She said her perspective was that I would be the point of contact. And I told her I didn't feel that expectation was received. I explained that I had done the things she asked and was unaware that the expectation was for me to be a point of contact, and therefore did not relay that info to them and never received further communication. I said going forward it would be helpful that when I bring up the things I am working on at our one-on-ones, that is my exhaustive list, and if there is something on there she is thinking I am handling that I did not mention, I need to be aware of the expectation to complete that project. And that this will help us be on the same page about expectations. I didn't say this, but on my end, I thought that was the entire point of a one-on-one, and am wondering why she hasn't been doing that all along. Why didn't she bring up this conference at previous one-on-ones when I didn't say it was on my list? She mentioned something about how she doesn't want to micromanage and just lets everyone run with things. In my opinion, this is a cop-out to not be a manager at all. You can effectively manage without being a micromanager. I told her I don't need someone to micromanage me, I just need clear communication of what is expected of me. If you want me to be handling a project, and not just a quick task for it, I need to be told that I am in charge of the project. I don't see that as micromanaging. Overall, although the convo went better than expected, I'm still frustrated because she seems oblivious to her role in all this. To her fairness, she did ask me to come to her with things she is doing that upset me, but I genuinely don't know how to respectfully tell me boss to just read emails because she constantly misses details. And, in a previous experience, when told to come to superiors with issues, I did, and they let me go. It wasn't a job, but for the purposes of this, it works. So I don't exactly feel confident telling her things she's doing wrong. Immediately after my meeting, my coworker told me about issues she was having with her because of the inability to slow down and read an email. It takes us so much more time to go back and forth in communication than if she were to just read it the first time. I would have felt a lot better at the end if she had owned up to how she didn't properly communicate with me, because I still feel like she blames me for this on her end. Hopefully things will get better moving forward, because this is really the only negative thing about my job. The pay, flexibility, schedule, and healthcare are all fabulous, and I don't want to lose that finding a new job, so I've been toughing it out. I'm trying to have a positive outlook, but these frustrations have been building for so long I'm having a hard time being optimistic. Thank you for everyone who validated my feelings and gave me advice. And thank you to those who provided other perspectives respectfully. I do appreciate seeing the other side when it's not presented in a rude manner. Top comment. Commenter 1, info, has there been any brainstorming with her about other ways to communicate that aren't emails? As in, if she won't read them in detail, what's the alternative? I worked at a place 10 plus years ago where we had rules about email subjects so everyone could better manage their emails. I don't remember all the details, but it was like each subject line had to start with a code direction word like action, due March 3rd, or info only. Granted, that doesn't help with external emails, but maybe for you folks working under her. Just throwing stuff out there. Reply, we basically just settled on better in-person communication at our one-on-ones. Like I said, why she wasn't telling me things she expected that I didn't mention were what I was working on, but no, she's only ever in the office for like 2 hours a week on Mondays. And I usually work from home on Mondays and we meet virtually. Now she's asked I come in Mondays. Which sucks, but if it makes me less frustrated with her then cool. Commenter, boss sounds difficult but still the boss. Time to look for a new job if you can't handle this. But I've got some news for OP, this isn't unusual when you work in a junior job. For all we know, boss is a great speaker. Talented at their job. Not detail-oriented, there are many talented, successful people in the world, who are not organized and are annoying to their subordinates when they drop the ball. The best thing to do is be empathetic, turn around and get the dumb display when they forget, and move on with your life. Reply, she spent the entire conference on her phone and used ChatGPT to create her presentation entirely. LOL. Commenter, it sounds like you did manage up, at least what my definition and experience is with that concept. There was a problem that involved you but was not fully your responsibility. Instead of letting the higher-up make it your responsibility and give you crap for what failed, you told the truth, did not allow all the fault to lay at your feet, and got some changes implemented. That's an "atta girl" moment. Reply, thank you. The term itself makes it sound like I should be managing my manager, making sure she's on task and getting her job done. I know a lot of people in the comments here and a lot on the original will say, that's just how work is and you lack initiative if you can't do that. I don't agree. If you are in a managing role, it is your job to manage me. I've had great managers so I know it's possible. And I don't think as a work culture we should just accept having to manage our bosses when the roles should be reversed. Sorry for the little rant, but I'm passionate about things. Commenter, I'm a manager. I have a lot of things going on, and sometimes I don't have time to respond to every email. I actually don't respond to most of them. We often do tabling events. If I asked one of my leadership level employees to respond to an email about a tabling event, I can't imagine a scenario where they wouldn't at least be like, am I taking care of that tabling event? They are involved. It is on their radar. At the very least I would expect them to take lead and get someone scheduled to run the table. Ideally they would take ownership and just take care of it. From my perspective, it's at least 51% your fault. Reply, I appreciate your perspective, but honestly I think that makes you a poor communicator. You need to ask for what you want. No, I'm not saying you have to walk them through exactly what to do, but if she wanted me to be the point of contact, just say that. It's so simple. Commenter, please make sure you follow up your one-on-ones with a written response confirming project's tasks. You are going to need to CYA with a manager like this. If you just do face-to-face, the next time she fails to communicate in a project she is in charge of flops, she is going to lie and say she told you to handle it and you won't have proof to the contrary. Reply, yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday. After each meeting I will probably send a list of what I'm working on so she can see, check back if needed, and it covers my ass. Stories number 10. Aita for refusing to apologize for slapping my boyfriend when he smashed our birthday cake to my face. My F34 boyfriend, Charles M38, and I celebrate our birthdays together. This year, I contributed a small private room at a restaurant, and we invited 11 people. 4 of them are my local friends. The rest are his family members. I wanted to celebrate a new achievement in my career and thought it would be great to just splurge a little and get some delicious food. So we had access to the menu, drinks and our cake. I had agreed to pay for one half of the food aside from having rented the small space myself. The space was paid for in advance, the food at the end, as in any restaurant. We had issues last year because I felt that he was doing low-effort things while I always did my best to give him a nice birthday celebration. We have an income gap, but it wasn't even about money. I was making less money last year, and I still made things work for him. So this year, he took care of inviting people, paid for the cake, and got me a spice rack as a present, which I loved. I made myself pretty, got my eyebrows and eyelashes done, and had my hair done. We were told to pose and pretend to blow the candles, because I didn't want to blow our germs on the cake. Then we each had a picture alone with the cake. When it was my turn, I was holding the cake when he pushed my face towards the cake, so I tried to fight it. His family started cheering, and he arched over my body and forced me to bend over until my face smashed the cake. My friends tried to get him off me, and he resorted to plastering cake and frosting on my hair. I don't need to describe the mess because I'll never be able to end this post, but I ended up slapping him when he attempted to do it again. His mother got up, and she got into an argument with one of my guests. I had to cross the main floor with cake all over my face to use the restroom. When I looked in the mirror, I had cake on my neck, and my blouse had red and blue coloring that didn't come off. I had to wash my face and got my hair in a bun because it looked less messy that way. When I came back, his family were all long faces. I told him what he did was unacceptable, and he said it was just a joke, that everybody has done that for ages and that me slapping him just ruined my image in front of his family. I started crying and gathered all my stuff to leave. I notified him that he should pay for himself and his guests. My friends insisted on paying for their own food, but I refused, and we ended the night right there. My friends wanted to treat me to having dinner elsewhere, but I wasn't comfortable with my appearance. They ended up sending me the money that I spent, and that broke my heart. Charles had to pay for 1/2 of the remaining bill and got charged a cleaning fee. I still love him, but I'm clear that I'll never be able to forgive him. We talked about it, and I ended things. He's convinced that I never loved him. He acknowledged what he did was wrong but is adamant that his family hates me for slapping him and that it's my fault. I told him that he ruined not only our birthday but also my way to celebrate my career milestone. I've worked very hard to get to where I am and that his behavior showed me what my future will look like. And that I'm sorry to say it, but he was so aggressive and so focused on making his family laugh at my expense that I just realized he's not good enough and that I've lost my confidence to be seen with him in public, because I don't know what else he will pull out of his ass. He says he paid for that cake, that he's not saying that it was okay to smash it, but it's not like I paid for everything. He wanted me to apologize to his mom, but I refused. Important, I'm not proud of my reaction. We've never had any physical altercations. He says his mother feels humiliated because of what I did and that she has been struggling with mild depression for years. I didn't know, and I came off as violent. Aita for refusing. I already blocked him. Edit. His guests paid for the other half of his bill after being told they needed not pay for anything. Stories number 11. I stole from a museum as a child, and I don't mean from the gift shop. When I was a child, around 7 or 8, I went on a school trip to a museum that had an ancient Egypt exhibit running. The museum staff allowed the class to look at some old relics, passing them around in a circle. I remember looking at this little greeny blue colored figurine of a goddess with a hippo head. I really liked it. Without a second thought I put it in my pocket and took it home with me. I sat at home playing with it, not really understanding the gravity of what I had done. Then we had a big assembly at school. The museum were looking for this figurine as it was not a replica but an actual ancient Egyptian artifact. I remember playing scenarios in my head of how I could give it back without getting caught, but I couldn't see a way out of it. The museum became angrier, the assemblies grew more pressing, letters went home to all parents, parents were called in of naughty children who could have possibly done it. Finally everyone calmed down, they realized they weren't getting it back. I got away with it. The problem is I'm now 31 and I still have the figurine. I couldn't throw it away, it's thousands of years old. I couldn't give it back, I would have been in unbelievable trouble. If I gave it back now, it would look strange that it's turned up after all this time in the same town by someone who went to the same school. I've never told anyone about this figurine, no one else has ever seen it. I have no idea what I'll ever do with it. But that's my confession, museum thief of an ancient artifact that's 7 years old. Comments. Comment 1. I want this to be a movie where the figure has the spirit of an ancient pharaoh that possesses the one who took it and they have to share a body. Every now and then Pharaoh gets control of the body and has to adapt to modern society. Comment 2. How wouldn't they notice that they didn't get it back after passing it around? I feel like they wouldn't let you leave until they found it. Reply. You would think so, wouldn't you? But obviously someone wasn't paying enough attention to what came back. They had contacted the school by the next morning though. Comment 3. You could mail it back to them and not put a return address on it. Comment 4. Was it Tauret? Did you understand the gravity of its history at the time? Reply. After Googling, yes, that is what it looks like. I can't recall really understanding the gravity of it all at the time, obviously as an adult I do. Comment 5. Museum worker here. Handling collections in museums are actually very common, and are very much a mixed bag as far as authenticity goes. Depending on the museum, the type of artifact, and the resources available, objects in handling collections can genuine, even for archaeology or paleontology, replicas, or related contemporary objects. Some objects can only be used by staff volunteers for demonstrations, and others are fully hands-on by visitors. From the description, it sounds like the OP has a Faience Shabti figure of Tauret. I'm assuming it's quite small as it fit in a child's pocket. There are millions and millions of Ashabtis around and many of them are not particularly valuable, usually due to condition. You could buy one from an auction site for under £100 easily. You shouldn't, because virtually all antiquities are trafficked and obtained by questionable methods. But you could, especially large museums like the Met or the British Museum will have thousands upon thousands, perhaps millions, of tiny to small objects like this. If you visit the Met they have thousands of Ashabtis, stone amulets, beads, etc. just laid out on shelves inside alcoves in the Egyptian galleries. I can't imagine how many more are in storage. Likewise, the British Museum does indeed use genuine antiquities in their handling collections because the educational value of letting people interact with one random potsherd or amulet is higher than whatever monetary value or cultural value might come from it sat in a specimen box for 50 years and only checked once in a blue moon at audit. The museum was unhappy because we don't like losing our things. They're meant to be there for everyone to enjoy for as long as possible, and we have legal obligations to look after them. I'd be surprised if anyone's life was ruined over this, however, especially for a handling object that may not even have been accessioned, made part of the permanent collection, with additional legal responsibilities. For the OP, I would return it. The museum will be grateful, and having been below the legal age of responsibility I would be surprised if they were liable for anything. Of course that depends on the local laws and culture where OP lives, so YMMV, IANL, etc. Comment 6, Museum Worker here. I believe this story. Artifacts without provenance, meaning good records of where they are from, are often used as touchable education items. We have a 3,000-year-old knife in a volunteer cart. It was found by someone on their land years ago, but they didn't remember where. This means for research purposes it's not a good item to keep in our collections. Others are also correct that there are some things, like ancient pottery, are so plentiful that some can be sacrificed to public education without taking away from our collective historical knowledge. If it were me I'd send it back. Depending on the museum's size they probably don't have the resources to do a lot of police work, and would probably be more relieved than anything. Comment 7, unless you're in Egypt, the museum stole it too. Sleep soundly, young museum thief. Update. Just to let everyone know, thanks to your comments, I did the right thing and returned the figurine to the museum. I did it anonymously from a different city, I hope they receive it. I feel a lot better, thank you. Stories number 12. My mom is a pretty reasonable, level-headed woman, and she feels certain that she died many years ago. Back in the mid-90s when my mom was pregnant with my older brother, she was driving home from the store and stopped at a stoplight. When the light turned green, she tried to go forward but the gas pedal didn't work. Confused, she continues pushing on the pedal until a second later, an 18-wheeler flies through the intersection, running a red light. Had her car worked properly, she would have been pancaked by a massive truck going way over the speed limit. And that's not even the strangest part of her story. She says from that moment on, her memories diverge from the memories of those close to her. She remembers iconic song lyrics slightly differently from her friends, Bible verses she's had memorized her whole life she now seems to quote incorrectly, and she includes this one in her story so I will too. I'm skeptical of the Chinese government here but I also wasn't born yet. She swears she saw Tank Man at Tiananmen Square get run over on live TV and it was such a crucial memory for her because it was the first time she saw my dad cry. Now, no one she experienced these moments with share the same memories as her. She doesn't have any idea of the mechanics of it, but she feels that she died that day at the intersection, and was allowed to live on in another timeline or alternate universe where things are very, very similar but still slightly different. I should mention that she doesn't believe in the Mandela effect, but she does think that something supernatural happened to her that day so that our family as we know it could exist. Stories number 13. My 21F, boyfriends, 21M, parents are abusive and I refuse to go back to their home after an incident. I mostly need to get this off my chest, I won't lie. Charlie lives 15 to 20 minutes away by car. We've been dating 5 months and it used to be my pleasure to drive up there and spend a few nights at his place. I knew his parents are abusive and scream at him for nothing sometimes, physically assault him and take away his phone and computer. He will be able to get out of there by the end of the school year, when he gets an internship. His plan for the future is to have very limited to absolutely no contact with his shit family. I tried to make sure his family liked me, and it worked. I always tried to be very agreeable and nice to them and since they love keeping up appearances anyway it worked pretty well. Some time ago, I'm going to guess about 3 to 4 weeks ago, I was staying over on a Sunday evening and I didn't have my car, because a friend of ours would come drive us to school in the morning. The parents had been away all day, they came home in the evening, pretty drunk actually, and Charlie's little sister, 17F, went to complain that we ate too much lasagna or something. Okay, sibling trouble. His parents then proceeded to severely overreact to dumb sibling trouble by calling him in the kitchen, berating him, and screaming at him. He apologized and left me in the room while he went there, told me not to worry too much and this is normal to him, it happens all the time. So there I was alone in his room, in the dark, absolutely panicked because nothing terrifies me more than people screaming, helpless, alone, in danger and with no way out, because I didn't even have my car there. I had been in this situation before and it went about the same way. I don't know how to really convey how terrified I was. So I was having one hell of a panic attack and crying like I was actively trying to shoot my eyes out of my sockets, and I hear a bang and louder screaming, so I think they're attacking Charlie and I panic, some more, and go to the kitchen, again, in tears. I arrive and attempt to say something like, "Is everything okay in here?" It comes out as, "What is wrong with you people?" with a broken tearful, pathetic screamy voice. Obviously I still regret this. It sounds like a bad excuse but I wasn't really in control here. Next thing I know, Charlie's father, a terrifying motherfucker, is millimeters away from my face, screaming at me so hard I think he actually spluttered on my face. My first instinct was to block him with my arm and push him away as hard as I could. I'm frail, and from there my boyfriend finished the job by pushing him the hell away. It was a mess. Everyone was screaming. I was trying to get my phone, and kept repeating, "I'm calling my dad, I'm calling my dad," in the end I didn't. I was still sobbing so hard my chest was actually hurting. At some point I thought I couldn't breathe anymore. When Charlie was done pushing the whole family away from me he gently took me by the shoulders and led me outside to get away and calm down. He was very sweet and patient and seemed to know exactly what to do, including getting me out of there. His mother came out a few times on the doorstep to glare at us wordlessly. Charlie said, "Go away, can't you see she's not doing well, can't you see this isn't normal behavior, she's not used to it." She tried arguing that I wasn't to speak to them this way, don't know if this is the correct wording, but he made her leave. He let me calm down, said it was a normal reaction, I kept apologizing and he didn't let me. He let me go inside to pack my bags and talk to his family in the meantime so I didn't have to face them. We left through the window so they wouldn't try to stop us, and went to seek refuge at his aunt's place. Everyone there was very sweet and welcoming. Everyone in the family knows Charlie's mom is a monster. I haven't faced Charlie's parents since. I refused to. Charlie told me he told his mom, "This isn't normal," and she said, "Do you think SHE's normal with her gross scars all over her arms?" I used to self-harm and I haven't done it in years. My scars are very faded. She's just a disgusting, vile woman. The thought of talking to them makes me sick. I've ignored them the last time I saw them from far away. Last time I picked up my boyfriend I was very scared just from being in my locked car in front of the house for 5 minutes. I know I'm not over it and need to process it. I was actually hoping this thread would help me overcome the ADHD and finally text my therapist. My boyfriend seems to understand that I don't want to come back. I told him I probably wouldn't apologize to his parents, and didn't want to see them. At least for now, I just can't. He seems to be getting sort of tired of it though. I feel bad that he has to come over. We both live with our families, though I try to make it as comfortable as possible and my family likes him. He has expressed today that he's sort of upset that he has to choose between being home and being with me. I don't think he understands how terrified I was and I don't know how to tell him so he understands. I have this feeling that he's so used to it he just thinks I should stop feeling bad after a few days. That's sort of the way he acts sometimes though he keeps telling me it's alright. I know it bothers him. I don't know what to do. TLDR boyfriend's parents were horrible enough to make me have a panic attack. I don't want to see them ever again. My boyfriend keeps saying he understands but he's getting tired of having to choose between being home and being with me. Edit, thank you, I didn't expect so many responses. I don't know how to answer everybody but I appreciate every response, even those guys that tried to determine in what context it is okay to assault your child over lasagna. I'd like to stress that the reason I was so panicky is also because they have a history of physical abuse. I ran in when I thought they might be hitting Charlie. I agree I was overreacting. I disagree though that I owe them any excuses, because acting adequately anyway would have been to leave quietly and never cross paths with these people again. Charlie and I are on the same team. We've been talking about this and I've been translating the comments for him. This post led to a sincere talk about how we were both feeling about it and that's ultimately what I wanted. I am not going back there and Charlie agrees with that fully. He said he didn't realize I took it so harshly and was still thinking about it. Obviously he's not a mind reader. Charlie is getting out in a few months, that's when we all leave the school we're both in for an internship, and until then we're gonna make it work like this. Thank you. Update. TLRD I have complex PTSD, it was a bad relationship and I left him in May. This is going to be long because I need to write this. What happened in the original post is, I had a boyfriend who has a physically abusive family. The boyfriend would convince me to stay over at his house all the time, because I had a license and he was too lazy to get his. He insisted I play nice with his disgusting family so his life would be easier. I did so because I had lots of sympathy for his situation. He knew about my history of abuse and how scared I was of his father and how terrified I could get of everything sometimes, PTSD, but nagged me on staying over at his place because he didn't feel like going over to mine. That particular night he had convinced me to stay over without my car as a friend would pick us up to go to school in the morning. I forget why I didn't have my car, sorry. His parents came home and started screaming at him. What I described as a panic attack was an emotional flashback to severe childhood abuse. When I heard what sounded like someone hitting my ex in the kitchen, I went there because I was afraid for him, and reverted to what would sometimes end the screaming matches in my family when I was younger and my brother was there, crying out for them to stop. In my family it leads to them switching for screaming to insulting me and being mad at me more quietly. I don't know why this works. Here it resulted in the father screaming in my face and me pushing him away instinctively. Some posters commented on me saying, "I'll call my dad," and not doing it. I didn't explain that I wouldn't have called my dad as I felt like this was all my fault. I said that to introduce the idea that another adult could hear them be this way and see if it would affect their behavior. Later we had to flee out of the window to go my ex's aunt's. My ex caught me writing the last post. Laughed at comments that said that he shouldn't want me to go back there and agreed with comments that said my decision was stupid. Which I guess it was. I didn't dare talk back to commenters and pretended like my ex 100% rejected his parents and was a good person. What I didn't say is that he never got a job during the summer despite multiple family members offering him easy gigs, always wanted to go out for fast food and let me pay, told me that not everyone was as wealthy as I was when I complained. I'd gotten a summer job at a clinic despite crippling yet undiagnosed PTSD making me cry and hurt myself every morning and evening because I was so scared of interacting with people. 2 months after that post he got tired of coming over and nagged me into apologizing to his parents. I went back, despite being absolutely terrified just being in the house. When he stayed over at my place where my parents left us alone he stayed up all night playing Fortnite despite me telling him I couldn't sleep. He didn't care, I was severely sleep deprived all the time. He would smoke on the balcony despite me asking him not to, stomp around the house at night when everyone was asleep, and then would sleep until sometimes 6 p.m., leaving me to wait around the house for him until it was dark and the day was practically over for me. He had no respect for the routine I'd set up for myself to exercise, be healthy and keep my head above the water. He got mad at me the one time I self-harmed, hit myself without thinking and left a bruise during a breakdown that took me days to recover from, then told his female friend over Discord what I'd done after she admitted to doing the same, after he comforted her the way he never comforted me and told her she was beautiful and unique. I had to buy him his tobacco, smoking paper and filters to keep him from being horrible. He said he couldn't help it when he didn't smoke for a while. At the time I was still trying to quit smoking, and he kept giving me cigarettes and smoking around me, and not having a cig made me upset but not to the point of being mean to my partner. He never brushed his fucking teeth. Got really fucking mad at me when I asked him to brush his teeth and ignored me. Combine this with 20 cigarettes a day. I was prescribed Paxil and it did nothing but give me bad side effects. When I went off it gave me terrible withdrawal symptoms, weird electric shocks, flu-like symptoms, and terrible despair and crying. I once spent an entire night crying my eyes out and being sick while he ignored me and played Fortnite, not even turning off the screen to let me sleep. He would punch walls when he was mad. I would show up at his house to go to our planned date and he would be drunk and I had to sit down and wait for hours until he could move without puking. He would tell me he'd come to my house in the evening and be 5 hours late. Once he literally went to the cinema with a friend without telling me after he said he'd come over. He laughed at me when I was upset. He dragged me to parties when I said I was afraid of people yelling and being drunk. He got mad at me until I went. He was either upset at me when I had to leave because I was terrified, or pretended to care about my well-being for 5 minutes and stayed at the party while I drove home sobbing, until he drank a bottle of vodka and ate 5 edibles at once because he thought that was some weak shit and then I had to come pick him up in my pajamas and hold him all night until he stopped crying about people's faces being made of colors. But you know the very worst in that relationship? I stayed while he was passed out drunk. I kept giving my money away after I said I didn't like it. I bought him more cigarettes. I didn't kick him out of my house. I drove him everywhere. I let him make fun of me and fuck with my head. I went back to his abusive household and played nice. So much of it is on me. I'm so very mad at him, but really I am so mad at myself. I can't believe this was all I thought I was worth. I moved to the UK from the south of France in May for an internship. I left him after he told me I was just too fucking lazy to make food and I should stop fucking complaining because he's got real problems. In response to me being exhausted all the time and being literally too scared to go outside and go grocery shopping. Panic attacks level scared. His problems were him doing badly in school and not caring about it, and sleep apnea. I'd been trying to get him to see the doctor and treat for 6 months. At this point he still wasn't trying to move out and was content letting him mom iron his t-shirts, and playing video games all day and night while being silent on Discord calls with me. I'm still in the UK. I made a few friends. I discovered I have CPTSD. It's very hard and I've been very alone. I feel a lot of shame. I've been making sense of my life and relationships up till now. I needed to write this somewhere people will see it. You don't have to stay with people who let you cry your eyes out over your dead cat while ignoring you and complaining that your parents' food is disgusting and he wants to go to Burger King. And let you pay for it. Unlikely thanks to that one commenter on my previous post that said I probably have PTSD and I should get out of that clusterfuck, that we all laughed at and downvoted at the time. Cheers mate. Edit wasn't expecting so many comments. I can't answer everyone but I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for the support. Stories number 14. Aita for quickly shutting down my sister after trying to change tradition. I, 45F, hosted my family's Easter dinner at my house last Friday evening. We don't do it on Sunday because we all go to church together and some of my family works after. Usually, most of my mom's side comes and there's a lot of us, lots of aunts, cousins, grandkids, you name it. I have quite a big house with a big backyard. I have 2 kids and there's a playroom in my basement. When I got the house about 10 years ago, most of my family said that I should host because my house was perfect for it. I took it as a compliment and started hosting most family events for the past 10-ish years. I love to host and I love getting all of my family together, it's kinda my thing. My sister, 42F, and I have always had a competitive relationship, but still a very loving one. She always wanted to up me in grades or in sports when we were younger. Then in our 20s she always wanted to be the first in major accomplishments like marriage or kids. When I started hosting, she would make sarcastic digs on my hosting skills like food or conversations. She even told me she thought she would be a better host in a private conversation. I still very much love my sister, but sometimes I think she envies me with how she treats me. As Easter was wrapping up, and everyone was saying their long goodbyes, Midwest goodbyes LOL, my sister decided to make a little announcement right before she walked out the door. Something along the lines of, before I leave, I wanted to say I'm going to host 4th of July this year. I was quite surprised because she had not told me this and she knows quite well that I have been hosting every holiday. Most of the family didn't really know what to say because it was just out of the blue. Now, this is where I might be the asshole. I quickly said, oh, sorry, sister's name, but I was already planning on hosting since I've been doing that for the past decade. I wasn't trying to come off as overly mean, but I also didn't want to get walked on and just give up to my sister's action. She quickly shot back about how she wants to take some pressure off my back and how I don't need to do everything all the time. The way she said it felt mean and snarky. So I told her that I didn't feel pressure since I'm used to it, and then if she wants to host, she should let me know ahead of time instead of 2 months beforehand. We both were being a little bit snarky and passive-aggressive. After my comment, she said, okay well, maybe Thanksgiving, and left. I plan on texting my sister about it soon, but I have not talked to her since. I felt bad because I had done it in front of my family, and I got a couple texts afterwards asking if I was okay and that she shouldn't try to break tradition. Whilst my parents, specifically, and some other family members told me I was being an a-hole for not just letting her do something for once. Edit, whoa okay. I was not expecting so much interaction with this post. I plan on talking to my sister tonight, apologize and ask her to take over 4th of July and Thanksgiving if she wants. I am going to talk to her about the past and our rivalry and how we both feel to get any grudges out of the way. Some people were telling me I am selfish, and I understand and I am knocking myself down a peg. I understand 2-ish months is beforehand and maybe I am just a get this done ASAP person, but I understand how I am wrong. I also do not host everything. It is just expected that I do, and I am now going to ask if we switch it up because now I am afraid my family might think I'm trying to keep a center of attention. I am seeing myself in a new light, and I apologize that I didn't see it earlier. Thank you to the commenters who were kindly showing me my mistakes, and I kindly remind you I am human, and I am making mistakes with the effort to fix them. Edit 2, an update is available on my page. I talked to my sister and cleared up more things. Thank you. Stories number 15. My 27F ex-partners, 28M, new girlfriend, 24F, is trying to play house with my child, 4F. I'm using a throwaway because mutual friends use Reddit. Sorry for the length. My ex-boyfriend is James. James and I dated for 3 years between spring 2014 and the end of winter 2017. Since my daughter is obviously older than 3, it's clear that she is not biologically James. Her father was not someone who wanted to be involved with her, and signed away all rights when she was born, so he is not involved in the picture. James and I were originally friends, which grew into a relationship when my daughter was around the age of 1. As my daughter grew a little bit older, she saw James as a de facto parent, a role that he happily stepped up to. She knows that he isn't daddy, but had the strongest bond with him of anyone outside of the biological family. Our relationship finished owing to a difference in personal timelines. James wanted to buy a house together. We had lived together in the last year, but we each still had our own places, and moved to another city for work, while I was happy where I was located. It became a self-imposed ultimatum, and while James didn't actually move, it was clear that our relationship was over. We stayed friends, and he changed from de facto dad to fun Uncle James to my daughter. We have both made sure that she was stable about the situation, something that she clearly seems to be. As I do with other friends, my daughter and I will occasionally visit James, who sometimes has my daughter without me there for a couple of hours at a time if I have to run errands or something similar. I have no reason at all to worry about James with my daughter, who is always all smiles and 5 more minutes, when I get back. About 6 months ago James started dating Tracy. She is someone that he works with who I actually first met while we were dating. Their relationship itself isn't the issue, however there have been instances that have caused concern in the past few months. The first was when James invited my daughter around for a playdate with James' nephew, who he was babysitting. Tracy was there too, which I expected. However, when we arrived and James greeted my daughter with a hug, she commented on how she looked like her daddy, meaning James. Both James and I said that my daughter wasn't James' child, which is something James later said had come up in conversation between them before. She only remarked that she meant they had a strong father-daughter bond, which I thought odd, but ignored. There have been a couple of other times when I have seen Tracy either out and about or at planned events when she has said that my daughter really likes spending time with James, which I obviously know, though I just took it as awkward ex's chat. The reason I am posting is about what happened a couple of days ago. Again, James was babysitting his nephew, and had invited myself and my daughter to the park for an afternoon. We get there and everything is fine until my phone rings and I'm told that there's an emergency in the office that I have to sort out because X, Y, and Z aren't picking up their phone. I mention this, and James and Tracy offer to look after my daughter and stay in the park while I rush over to the office, only a 5-minute drive, to sort out the problem. I'm gone for about half an hour overall. The issue wasn't really an issue, as it never is, and when I get back everyone is where I left them and all happy. We start getting ready to go home when Tracy mentions to me that someone that she knew, an amateur photographer, happened to be in the park taking pictures of the landscape and had taken a couple of shots of the group, my daughter included, and that she'd send them over because they were apparently really sweet. I was a bit perturbed by someone apparently just coming over and photographing my child, but thought glass half full and decided it was only a nice gesture. A couple of hours later Tracy sends me over the solo pictures of my daughter. She says that she didn't give her friend permission to use any of the solo pictures of my daughter on her professional page, but the ones of the scenery and of James' nephew were on there, and if I wanted to give consent then my daughters could be on there too. They were actually very cute, and I looked on the photographer's page to see the rest from the day. There were some sweet candids of the nephew, and some nice couples shots of James and Tracy, but the last picture on there was a family-style portrait of everyone, my daughter included. The caption said something like, the James surname, dash, Tracy's surname, know how to have fun. I immediately messaged the page asking for the picture to be taken down as it had my daughter in it without my permission. They replied apologizing for the issue, saying that Tracy had said that the little girl was James and he gave his consent. I then messaged James asking him to not give consent for anything involving my daughter, and to remind Tracy yet again that he is not my daughter's father. He replied saying he never gave his consent for any group pictures to be on there, and he resented the accusation. I messaged Tracy later on making it clear that I didn't want my daughter to be used in any kind of situation where the facts weren't clear, and no, James was not her father. I didn't get a reply. I don't know where to go from here. I don't want to be that ex-girlfriend who tries to get her ex to sneak around behind his girlfriend's back for him to see my daughter, but at the same time he's done nothing to stop Tracy from acting out this charade of my daughter being James and therefore hers. If I just cut them both out then my daughter will be confused, though I know she'll bounce back. I know that James will be hurt too, but I need to put mine and my daughter's feelings before that. It's just getting to me that we were able to be fine and stable through our whole breakup, yet a completely unavoidable situation is what will finish this off. Should I just move on without James and Tracy in my daughter's lives? Am I simply overreacting and becoming that ex regardless? TLDR, ex-boyfriend was basically dad to my daughter for 3 years. Despite splitting up, we were civil and he maintained a good relationship. However, his girlfriend is trying to paint them, including my daughter, as a perfect little family. Do I cut them all out and move on? Top comments. Commenter 1. This seems super simple to me. Don't leave your kid alone with people who want to pretend she is theirs. Let her visit for sure, but with you there too. Done deal. If they offer to be alone with her again, decline. If they push for a reason why, tell them why. Commenter 2. The confusing part is it's like OP wants James to be a fill-in dad but he can't make any decisions. The whole thing is a bit weird. I'd say cut both of them off as it'll only get more confusing. Commenter 3. It's only gonna get more awkward and uncomfortable moving forward as your daughter ages, especially when you get a new partner. Best bet is to cut them off and move on. Your daughter is young and will be fine without them in her life. Commenter 4. I think James choosing to keep someone like Tracy around does say a lot about his character and how stable a role model he may be in 5, 10, 15 years. The influence his partners have on OP's daughter may only increase as she gets closer to puberty and idolizes females she aspires to be like. One might think, ah. But it's only an hour or two. But kids are very impressionable, especially in a single-parent household. Update. So I got a lot more interest in my post than I expected. While some were either end of the spectrum, the majority seemed to suggest that James was too involved in my daughter's life. I had a long think about why I had pursued this route. To clarify to some, I did not force James into this position. He was happy to maintain a relationship with my daughter given that he had been in her life for several years. The comments concerning where my daughter would be as and when James settled down and got married and had kids of his own also made me think. This situation was definitely one of convenience, especially given the fact that our relationship ended since James wanted to move away and I did not. I definitely had no plans to challenge any of James' life choices, nor did I ever expect him to prioritize myself and my daughter over anything else. Something I seemed not to convey clearly in my original post was that James really is just a friend and has been for the past year to me, and so because of that I don't use him for anything that a parent would do. On the "he's not a babysitter daycare" posts especially, he sees her maybe once every 6 weeks, and since our relationship ended he's been alone with her 3 times at the most, so this is not me using our former relationship as a tool for free childcare. He asks to see my daughter, I don't make him make time for her. As a final clarifying point, this has never been a "I want him so you can't have him" situation. Our time together will always be cherished, but I do not want to pursue a romantic relationship with James again, and he doesn't with me. On to the update. After reading the comments to my post and thinking over the issues, I decided to send both James and Tracy messages apologizing for my reaction and my heat of the moment accusations the day after I made the post. James responded saying that it was water under the bridge and he would have been annoyed too in the situation. Tracy's response was different. All she sent was a message saying I know he is, daughter's father. I assured her that James was not my child's dad, and even went as far as to apologize if I had seemed off with her or if my current relationship with James was an issue. She asked if we could meet up and talk, which I agreed to. We met for coffee, and she said that she had been off with me, but not because of my relationship with James. She said that last year she had found out that she was infertile, and while James knew and was supportive, seeing him with my little girl who she knew he helped raise for several years got to her, which resulted in comments about him as "daddy." She then said that the whole photographer situation was set up. She had asked her friend who lived near to the park to come and take some pictures of her, James and the children as soon as it was clear that I was going to have to leave. She told James the same thing she told me about the friend happening to be in the park and wanting some portfolio shots, but told the friend out of James' earshot that I was totally fine with the pictures happening, and that James was my daughter's father so she has an on-site parent regardless. She was the one who suggested the family portrait shot. She told the friend to stick that one online but that the individual ones of my daughter needed to go through me first. She didn't think that I would be interested in looking at the other photos, and thought I wouldn't see it. She said that having a picture of her, her partner, a little boy and a little girl was enough to keep her going since her medical news was hitting her hard. Tracy ended by saying that since James is the only father that my daughter has ever known, she is therefore the closest thing that she will ever have to a child with him. I didn't quite know how to respond. After reading many comments on my post saying that I was a jealous harpy and that Tracy was an innocent bystander, or even calmer versions of that mindset, I was surprised that my actual suspicions were actually correct somewhat. This was not the reasoning I ever thought was behind this though. I thanked her for her honesty and asked if she was talking to anyone else about this. She said she wasn't, but she knew she should be. She also said that James knew nothing of the extent to which she was feeling, other than sometimes she was a little blue. We spent a while searching online for local mental health specialists, and left it with her promising to make an appointment, and to talk to James. After getting home, I contacted James to say that I believed that there needed to be some distance established between him and my daughter to benefit everyone involved in the situation. He said he agreed, and that he would always be there for my daughter if she needed him. I asked my daughter that evening, more out of curiosity, as to how she views James, and all she said was, James' nephew, uncle, so I'm taking that to mean that she is by no means dependent on him at the very least. I don't know if this is the end of this, and I'm sure I will get some criticism for not cutting out James altogether, or for even limiting the existing contact, but I believe this will benefit everyone, including Tracy, in the long run. Thank you again for everyone's advice. TLDR, turns out the ex-boyfriend's partner actually was trying to paint my daughter as a part of her family with my ex, not my daughter's dad, owing to the fact she is infertile and can never have a biological child with X encouraged her to seek mental health advice and to talk to her partner. Daughter is going to see less of X, through mutual consent, for the future well-being of all involved. Top comments. Commenter 1. I think everyone here acted super maturely and at least a lot of the loose ends have been tied off because of communication. Good on you for all being mature adults here OP. It doesn't happen as often as it should. Commenter 2. I mean I wouldn't say that Tracy acted super maturely, exactly. But I commend her for eventually communicating what was going on with her, that is mature of her. Commenter 3. Tracy's manipulation of the photography session and having it posted online was terrifying, also, hyphenated names. Already. Tracy's bold. I do hope she can let go of the idea of your daughter being hers by extension of James and that she gets the help she needs. But definitely stay away because I'm getting creepy walk into a hospital and kidnap a baby vibes from her. Stories number 16. AITA for refusing to treat my ex's sort of girlfriend like another parent to my unborn babies and sitting down with my ex and her to lay out some facts about how things will go. I, 25F, am pregnant with twins. Their father, 26M, and I were together for almost a decade. Things seemed great at the start of my pregnancy but then 11-ish weeks in he told me he had feelings for Amy, 24F, who was friends with benefits with one of his two best friends. He told me he didn't feel like we should stay together just for the babies and we'd work it out. I told him that was fine. That I wasn't going to stay while he had any kind of affair be it emotional or physical with her any longer. He told me nothing physical had happened yet and I told him I didn't care if it did or didn't because even if it hadn't, that was a yet and if it wasn't Amy it would be someone else. Amy and him ended up together, which came as no surprise, but then he told me he hated being away from me and he regretted doing this to us. I heard him out for a week before I made it clear that there was no going back and we would never be a couple again. His relationship with Amy has been on and off. Even when they're off they try to present as this united front and have wanted me to involve both in pregnancy stuff. Amy wanted to talk baby names with me and she was wanting us to go shopping for baby stuff together. She even wanted to do a joint shower so both of us could be focused on. She even tried to say how crazy it was for me to be having twins when X and her have no twins in their families. Like she counted herself and her family in that. I ignored most of those requests and I communicated clearly and through text or email for anything I did respond to. But it was getting crazier with the requests and the thing that bothered me most is they are not stable at all. And they're trying to put that on me. Saying if they were treated as a couple who were going to be equally a part of the babies' lives they wouldn't have so much trouble. My ex even said he felt like he had to be with me to be a real dad to the babies. When they mentioned her being at the birth I knew we all needed to sit down and talk. I didn't trust my ex to be honest about what I'd say and so I told them we could meet once and talk it all out. They met me with a bunch of crazy expectations. Like how both of them would come to see the babies at my house when his visitation would start. Overnights don't start until 4 to 6 months of new babies in our state. They wanted all of us to make decisions and they were thinking she could be mama to the babies. I let them talk and I wrote down all the expectations they had and then I told them they were crazy to expect all that. I said if my ex wants to be present at the birth I'm okay with that. If they want to discuss things between themselves then I cannot stop them. But I won't be taking her advice on baby names. Discussions will be between me and ex. I told them if they were together when my ex started overnights I could not stop Amy from being there but she was not coming to my house. I told them if they were in a stable relationship and settling down maybe we could all work together for the benefit of the children involved. But if they're on off the whole time it won't happen. I said I want my babies to be the priority but that didn't mean I was out here looking for them to have a second mom or for the two of them to try and outvote me and push what they want. And I told my ex that if he and Amy break up for good, or if he misses the kids and wants to be around more, that it won't convince me to take him back. I told him I was serious about that and he needed to fully accept that. And I brought that up because some of his body language and how he was looking at me made me feel like he was being too intimate for two people who are not a couple anymore and never will be. Amy said it was the confusion of everything and if I could take them as a package deal he'd find it easier. I told her I had already told them the reality of everything. They tried to argue but I just left once I realized they weren't going to stay calm or discuss things reasonably. My ex has emailed a few times in the days since and he told me I need to work with them instead of against them and I'm making all this harder than it should be and to think of our babies. He said he's trying to be an involved dad. I reminded him I'm not stopping him, but AITA for how I'm handling this. I'm trying to put the babies first but I don't think that means treating Amy as mommy too and acting like this is some family unit when they can't even stay together in the 4-ish months since the breakup. Stories number 17. AITA for suing my brother over a family heirloom he gave to his fiancée. I come from a family where heirlooms mean a lot. Our grandmother left us an antique diamond necklace that's been passed down for generations to the first daughter in the family. Since I'm the only daughter of this generation, it was supposed to come to me. My brother claimed grandma told him in private that it should go to him instead because he's the most responsible. I didn't want to cause drama, so I let it go, even though it felt unfair. Last week, I saw on social media that my brother gave the necklace to his fiancée as an engagement gift. She posted a picture wearing it with the caption, "Feeling like royalty with my new family heirloom." I confronted my brother and reminded him the necklace was meant to stay in the family. He said, "She is family now. Don't be petty." When I asked for it back, he refused, saying it would ruin their engagement. I decided to take legal action to get the necklace back. Now my brother is furious and calling me selfish. My parents think I'm overreacting, but some extended family members are on my side, saying he never had the right to give it away. His fiancée even messaged me, calling me a jealous drama queen and telling me to find my own man to buy me jewelry. The whole thing has caused a family feud, and now my brother and his fiancée are threatening to uninvite me from the wedding. AITA for taking this to court over a necklace that was supposed to be mine. Additional information from OOP. For everyone asking why I didn't fight harder to get it before, I honestly didn't want to cause a huge fight over it at the time. I thought my brother would treat it respectfully, but now seeing it being gifted like it's just some accessory really hurts. I'm not trying to ruin their engagement, I just want what's rightfully mine back. What would you have done in my place? Relevant comments. Commenter, NTA. The necklace is a family heirloom with clear traditions and it was meant to go to you as the only daughter of this generation. Your brother had no right to gift it to his fiancée, especially when it was intended to remain within the family. Reply, thank you, that's exactly how I feel. I don't understand why he thinks he can just rewrite the tradition. It's not about the necklace itself but the principle behind it. Do you think taking legal action is too extreme, though? I'm starting to second guess myself because of all the backlash from my parents and brother. Commenter 2. You need to ask your parents why they care more about your brother than you. Reply, honestly it feels that way sometimes. They keep saying they don't want to take sides, but their silence feels like support for him. I'm starting to wonder if they just don't want to deal with the conflict. Was there a will that has confirmed what needs to be done with the necklace? Reply, unfortunately she didn't write a will so the necklace wasn't officially stated to go to anyone in particular. Commenter 3, NTA. I already find it more than sus that grandma told your brother, in private, that she wishes to break a family tradition and give that necklace to him, not you. If it usually goes to the oldest daughter, grandma would make sure everyone knows that she wants it done differently. Telling only the person who benefits from the change makes no sense. Unfortunately, I have no idea what the law says about situations like that, probably different in different countries, but your post sounds to me like the legal action has already started, so at least your lawyer seems to believe you might have a case. Good luck. Reply, yeah, it's hard to believe grandma would have made such a big change without telling anyone else. I'm still figuring out the legal side of things. I just want to do what's right even if it gets messy. What's mine is mine. OOP shares the history behind her grandmother's necklace. Reply, the last owner of the necklace before my grandmother was her mother, so it's on my grandmother's side of the family. It's always been a tradition passed down from the maternal side, and as the only daughter in this generation it was supposed to go to me. That's why it's so frustrating to see it given away like this. Update. Wow, I wasn't expecting this much attention on my post. Thank you to everyone who shared their thoughts and advice. I wanted to give an update because things have escalated and there's some new context. First, I talked to my parents about the situation. It turns out my brother didn't just take the necklace, he convinced my dad that grandma told him it was meant for him because she thought a man would be more responsible. My dad, trying to avoid conflict, handed it over without asking questions. So no, my dad didn't intentionally give it to him, it was manipulation. I also reached out to other family members who remember grandma's clear wishes that the necklace was supposed to go to the first daughter. They're willing to back me up if this goes to court. My dad has also agreed to speak on my behalf in court, clarifying that he never meant to give the necklace away permanently. As for the legal side, I've consulted with my lawyer, who thinks I do have a case. Since there's no will, it all comes down to proving that the necklace was meant to stay in the maternal line. It's tricky, but I feel more confident now knowing I have some family members on my side. My brother and his fiancée, however, have doubled down. They've accused me of being jealous, and his fiancée posted another passive-aggressive picture on social media wearing the necklace, captioning it, "Some things just find their rightful home." It's honestly infuriating. At this point, I'm committed to fighting for the necklace, even if it causes more tension in the family. I'll keep you updated if there are any major developments. Additional information from OOP. I'm not backing down no matter how much they try to twist things. This necklace belongs to me and I'm going to make sure it stays in the family. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, fight. This is theft and it rightfully belongs to you, but ask yourself, how come all of you bend to your brother's will? Have things like this happened before? Reply, yes, things like this have happened before and it's always been my brother getting his way. It's frustrating but I'm not letting it slide this time. Commenter 2, your brother is a manipulative POS. Your parents should tell him he'll be written out of their will if he doesn't return the necklace to you, saves you going to court. If not, go to court and go NC with him after, he's not your brother, he's a snake. And go LCNC with anyone in your family who sides with him. For social media, you can just post if you need to respond and say it is an ongoing legal matter and will be discussed in court. Everyone will know what is up then. Update 2. Hi everyone, here's the latest update. My court date is set for the 27th and I've been doing everything I can to prepare. Honestly, this whole process has been so overwhelming emotionally, mentally, and financially. I never expected that standing up for what's right would come with such a heavy price. I've had to dip into my savings to cover legal fees, which has been stressful, but I can't back down now. The good news is my dad has agreed to testify on my behalf. He's been reflecting on everything and realizes now that my brother manipulated him by claiming that grandma wanted him to have the necklace. My aunt is also supporting me and has shared specific moments where grandma talked about how the necklace was supposed to go to me. Having them both on my side is giving me hope. Meanwhile, my brother and his fiancée are making things even messier. She actually brought the necklace to a family dinner recently wearing it like a trophy. She didn't say anything directly, but the way she was flaunting it felt like a calculated move to provoke me. My mom told me to just let it go after that incident, but how can I when it's so clear they're doing this to spite me? I don't know, sometimes it feels like my mom is supporting my brother. She's been really quiet about all of this. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting me here. Your encouragement has been such a lifeline during this difficult time. I'll update you all after the court date on the 27th. Additional information from OOP. Honestly, I didn't expect things to get this intense. It's like every time I think I'm making progress, something else comes up. Still shocked by how quiet my mom's been about it all. I'll keep you all posted after the court date on the 27th, fingers crossed. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, you're dipping into your savings and causing all these rifts in your family and still going to lose the court case. Reply, I get that it might seem like a tough fight, but I'm not backing down. I have solid support from my dad and aunt, plus the legal side is looking better than expected. I'm confident that when it comes down to it, I'll win this. Commenter 2, why do your father and mother allow him to continue acting this way? Flaunting the necklace at a family dinner in the middle of a lawsuit? Maybe if they put their foot down and didn't allow him to participate in family gatherings without returning the necklace to its rightful owner, or at least being respectful about it, they would be more pressured to give up the necklace. If you end up with it back though, please wear it all the time in front of her and post pictures with snooty captions similar to hers about it really finding its rightful home. Commenter 3, I truly despise those mothers who use the damn, just let it go, bullshit argument. What she is really saying is, I want you to be a doormat because I refuse to deal with the real problem person and prefer that you just roll over and take it. Your mom can stuff it. She's just a horrible mother. I hope the court case goes well. Please give us another update. Update 3, sorry for the late update, things have been exhausting, and I honestly needed some time to process everything. So, we had our first court date on the 27th, and I won't lie, it was way more stressful than I expected. My dad testified on my behalf, making it clear that my brother manipulated him into handing over the necklace. My aunt also backed me up, sharing how my grandma always intended for it to be mine. My brother, of course, tried to twist things in his favor, acting like he was just following some private wish from grandma, but there's literally no proof of that. Right now, we're still waiting on the next steps. The case isn't fully settled yet, and my brother is pushing back hard, probably hoping I'll just give up. His fiancée sat there acting all emotional, like she's the one being wronged in this situation. Meanwhile, my mom has barely said anything, which honestly hurts more than I thought it would. This whole process has been draining, emotionally and financially. Legal fees keep piling up, and I never thought I'd have to spend this much money just to fight for something that was supposed to be mine in the first place. It's frustrating, but I've come too far to quit now. I really appreciate everyone who's been supportive through this. It helps more than you know. I'll update again once there's more news. Additional information from OOP. Didn't expect this fight to take such a toll on me, but here we are. Just taking it one step at a time and hoping for the best. Top comments. Commenter 1. Be aware that the girlfriend might lose the necklace, dump your brother then miraculously find it. Then sell it. Commenter 2. That's what I was wondering, is there any way to hold the necklace in some sort of not escrow but a safe third place? Update 4. Sorry for the late update, but things have been insane. My next court date is set for March 9th, and let's just say a lot of people have shown their true colors. At this point I'm convinced some people are just pretending this isn't happening. My mom silent. My brother acting like this is some personal attack on him instead of what it really is, him taking something that was never his and certain other family members. Let's just say I now know exactly who would backstab me. The tension is unbearable. Some people are way too comfortable pretending this isn't happening. Let's just say, some relationships may never recover from this. I have definitely heard a lot of talk about this from my family, but I've already spent more than I ever imagined on legal fees, and this is far from over. But giving up not happening. And for those of you confidently predicting outcomes in the comments, stop. I'm not from the US and laws work differently here. A lot of people have been acting like they know exactly how this will play out when they don't even know how the system works here. I've seen people confidently say things that don't even apply to my situation. If you don't know, just don't assume. I'll update again soon, but I'm holding my ground. No matter how exhausting this gets. I know what's right. Additional information from OOP. At this point, I just want justice and to finally put this behind me. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA. Your brother had no right to give away a family heirloom that was intended for you. Taking legal action to retrieve it is understandable, especially since your father and aunt have testified on your behalf, confirming your grandmother's intentions. It's unfortunate that this has caused a family feud, but standing up for what's right, particularly in honoring your grandmother's wishes, is important. Hopefully, the upcoming court date will bring a resolution that respects your family's heritage. Commenter 2, it happens all the time. When there's a death in the family, it's like some latent virus wakes up and takes over, with all kinds of crazy ideas of what they were promised, what they were owed, taking liberties and getting greedy. I'm sorry you are going through this, but proud you are taking a stand to defend yourself from your brother NSIL's greedy, grubby lies. There comes a time when we find our hill to die on, and this is yours. Good luck. Update 5. Hi, I'm Course Tasty. So sorry for the late update, my old account got banned and honestly I've been so busy lately, but I knew I owed you all a follow-up, so here it is. The court date happened on March 19th, 9th was a typo in my last post, sorry, it went better than expected. The judge seemed to actually listen. That's all I'll say for now, as my lawyer has told me to stay quiet for a while. Hope y'all understand. But what happened after court is what really flipped things. We were walking out of the building when my brother's fiancée said, "Hope it was worth losing your family over," loudly in front of everyone. Like she wanted an audience. I laughed. Couldn't help it and I said, "You were never family to begin with." She lunged at me, no joke. Had to be held back by my mom of all people. My brother didn't even stop her. Just stood there with this blank look like he wasn't part of the mess he created. We were literally in the courthouse parking lot and people were staring. It was surreal. Since then things have only gotten colder. My mom's pretending like it never happened and is ignoring me. My brother blocked me. But my cousin texted me the other day saying the family group chat has been exploding with debates and screenshots, which I left as they were bullying and harassing me there for a while. At this point it's beyond the necklace. It's about principle. It's about dignity. And I'm not playing small to keep the peace anymore. I'll post again when there's a final ruling, but yeah, just wanted to say I'm still here, still standing and not one bit sorry. Thanks for all the support, guys. It all helped a lot. Top comments. Commenter 1, Aita was shared heirloom and he gave it away without consent. Defending your family's legacy is justified. Commenter 2, OP, if your brother thought he could just hand off a family heirloom like it was a party favor without even asking, he messed around and found out. Defending your family's legacy isn't petty, it's protecting what matters. And the fiancé putting on a courthouse parking lot performance like she's in a soap opera. That alone justifies every legal step you took. You're not the villain here, you're just the one with a spine and some standards. Commenter 3, bitter. You stood up for what matters to you, family history and dignity, not some cheap trinket. But your brother's fiancé chose the worst possible time to rub it in your face, and now you're left feeling raw. NTA for holding on to your values, even if this whole messy drama was avoidable. Stories number 18. I have autism, but my girlfriend had a history with this. So I'm a 20-year-old man with autism. Yeah, I know, shocker, right? Unless I tell you, you'd never guess I have it. I can take care of myself, I have a car, I live on my own, I have a high-paying job, I'm at college getting A's, and I'm on the roster for my local hockey team. Why does this matter? Because this is not what my girlfriend has experienced. My girlfriend has a brother with low-functioning autism and has had a history of yelling, breaking things and giving their family stress. They love him, but I can tell it's a painful experience. So what's the point of this post? Well, I met my girlfriend 4 months ago from a friend of mine and 2 months later we started dating and I was happy, and so was she. One time we went to her cousin's house with her family and her brother was really having a bad day. He started screaming and yelling for 10 minutes straight. So my girlfriend went outside stressed out and I followed. We went for a walk and she started saying she can't imagine being in a relationship with someone with autism. I should now mention I never told her I had autism, I mean would you? People don't even know there's different levels of autism, but they think it's kids screaming and other things I won't go on about since I don't want to waste time. After she said that, everything just went quiet after that until I broke the silence and said, what if, hypothetically, he was high-functioning? She said that she wouldn't because she's seen high-functioning people with autism but could tell there was something off with them. I found it confusing she said this since with a brother with autism, you'd think she would do research and find out there are people who, like me, have autism but would never guess we have it, but she loves him so, yeah. Anyway, the reason I never told her I had it is because I did not want her judging me. My friends were shocked I told them but still remained friends and said they think I'm normal and fun to hang with. Why did I tell them? Because I want to educate people showing there are different levels of autism. So why not when dating? Because there was a girl who was interested in me until I told her and then she stopped being interested. So now you can see where I'm coming from. You may ask why bother? Because I do autistic traits, such as pacing, repeating something over again, and not doing well with social skills. If I had to say my social skills are great but when it comes to setting up appointments for example I get frustrated. She has picked on this and asked me and I told her that pacing helps me think. Sometimes I repeat things because I don't know I just do, and I told her I'm not that great being social, I am, just not at certain things. She still said she liked me with all my flaws, and I think it's time I tell her I have autism so that she understand what I do and say and that I can talk to her and have her support me. She's been thankful I've been in her life and helped her with depression and giving up my time for her, so I just hope she's ready to hear it and understand. I'm just afraid she will leave me, should I tell her? Or not? I feel like she has a right to know since she's with me and I don't have to constantly explain myself. Comments. Tell her. People are still quite ignorant about autism, they only think of low-functioning kids and savants they see on movies. If I was in your position I'd let her know. By the sounds of it she digs you and your traits so letting her know shouldn't really change anything, if anything it might make more sense to her. I think her reaction about dating someone with autism was just her way of getting the stress and frustration out. At the end of the day you never chose to be autistic so she can't blame you. Don't hold it from her, lying to her is lying to yourself. Honesty is key and if she changes how she feels then that's the kind of person you don't need to be around. Best of luck. Keep us updated. Reply. I talked to her and she burst into tears saying she was sorry about what she said about not dating an autistic. I told her it was fine and we hugged. She's happy I opened up to her, understands things a lot more clear. Thank you for your support. Thank you guys for giving me the courage to tell my girlfriend. Earlier today I posted about if should tell my girlfriend I have autism. Originally she never wanted to date someone with autism because her brother had low-functioning autism and it drove her mad, even though she loved him. She has never experienced a high-functioning person with autism until she met me, but when we started dating I was too scared to tell her and even more scared when she said she did not want to date someone on the spectrum. When she got home we had a convo and I told her I was on the spectrum, and she started to cry apologizing for what she said a few weeks back. I told her it was okay, and we hugged. She was happy I told her because then she was able to understand some traits I do and have a different look about autism. Thank you guys for helping me find the courage to tell her. Now I'm sure our relationship will grow stronger. Keep changing people's lives and making others happy. Just wanna add one more thing, my girlfriend had a reason to say what she said. Living with someone with autism depending on the level is very stressful. He is low functioning, so imagine having a child sibling who cries, breaks things, and you have to keep an eye out for them when in public at all times. She was unaware of the different levels of autism and said she will learn more about it from me and her brother. This is why I love her, smiley face. Edit. Wow. Thank you for the likes, I did not expect this post to go big. I've never been big on likes, but just seeing people being so supportive is all I need. Thank you once again for your support. TLDR, told my girlfriend I'm on the spectrum. Comments. I'm so happy for you. Open communication is the key for a relationship. Even when it's hard to say, awesome dude. The spectrum has now grown stronger. Soon, we will be able to conquer something small and insignificant like one of the square states in the US. Edit. Googled a map and apparently US states are more angular than I initially thought. Stories number 19. Aita for leaving my girlfriend at a wedding after she told the bride I used to have a crush on her. I, 27M, was invited to a friend's wedding last weekend, not someone I talked to every day, but we were close back in college and stayed in touch. The bride and I had a flirty friendship back in the day. Nothing ever happened, but I did used to have a bit of a crush on her. Early in my relationship with my girlfriend, 26F, I mentioned that in passing, just one of those, haha yeah, college was messy, conversations. The wedding itself was great. My girlfriend and I got dressed up, had a couple drinks, danced a little. At some point I noticed her and the bride talking by the bar. They were smiling, laughing. Nothing seemed off. Up until the bride started acting really weird around me. Like distant, uncomfortable. Later, one of the bridesmaids, who I also know, pulls me aside and goes, "Hey, just so you know, your girlfriend told the bride you used to be in love with her, and that she should watch herself tonight." I honestly didn't know what to say. I confronted my girlfriend about it, and she didn't deny it. She said, I didn't want to cause drama, but I thought she deserved to know the history. I told her there was no history, and even if there had been, saying something like that at someone else's wedding was completely out of line. She got super defensive. Said I was blowing it out of proportion and caring more about the bride's feelings than hers. I told her I was embarrassed, hurt, and honestly kind of shocked by how casually she tried to stir the pot at someone else's wedding. She ended up dismissing everything I said, told me to get over it and stop making a scene. So I said fuck it and left. I got in the car and drove home without her. I figured she'd find a way back with one of her friends, she knew several people there. She eventually did, but now she's saying I abandoned her, and a couple of her friends are messaging me saying I humiliated her and I'm an awful person for just leaving without her. I don't feel like I was wrong to walk away, but I was just super upset and I'm starting to think the way I handled it was a bit over the top. Stories number 20. Would I be the AH if I don't forgive my SIL for a fucked up joke, she said. To give y'all a bit of background, I, 30F, moved to the UK nearly 7 years ago from the US. I was able to get a UK passport from my father who immigrated to the US where he met my mother. She actually fled to the US from South America. After university, I decided to live and travel throughout Asia and the Middle East for a few years teaching English in poor, and sometimes dangerous, areas before I finally made the decision to go back to my roots and move to Europe for good. All of this is important for later. 4 years in, I met the love of my life and we got married. We decided to buy a house in the countryside, and as we are getting things ready with the mortgage, his family was kind enough to let us move into their home for the time being. This was a massive change for me, but I didn't care as I grew to be a part of his family, including his only brother, Matt, who I consider to be the brother I never had. My husband and I were there whenever Matt went through breakups and gave him dating advice whenever he was seeing someone new until he finally met Vicky. When we met her we thought she was sweet, down to earth, and didn't take herself too seriously, which is what Matt needed, but over time she started to display questionable behavior traits. Once at the dinner table, I said something about being Latina and she said, "Well, at least you're not a dirty Indian." Mind you, my husband, Matt, and I are all for some dark humor, but that comment almost knocked me off my chair. In fact, I don't think we all think she said what she said because it was so out of the blue. She was obviously trying to be funny, so we all laughed, but it was obvious that it made us uncomfortable. Another time, I took my husband to Turkey for his birthday and I sent a video to our family group chat of him sun tanning by our hotel's pool with the sound of the call to prayer echoing from the Blue Mosque in Hagia Sophia. As a response she texted, "That sound would freak me out," clearly suggesting that it sounds like a side boomer. I can see how that would fly over people's heads, but I knew what she was talking about. But I get it, she has never been to the Middle East, so as someone who has lived there I took the time to educate her on what the call to prayer is and how it's actually beautiful. However, it wasn't until yesterday when I've had enough of her closed-minded remarks that she clearly tries to pass off as light-hearted jokes. As I mentioned, the family has a group chat where we send memes and jokes to each other at times. As you can imagine, Vicky sometimes doesn't know how to read the room and sends inappropriate memes to the family, and yesterday she sent a meme that was a picture of a huge group of immigrants on an inflatable raft in middle of the ocean with a caption that said, "Where's Jaws when you need him?" My husband thought it was too much and so did his mum. I, on the other hand, was like hell to the absolute and definite fucking O. I was this close to going on the group chat and calling her out for the bigot she was in front of everyone, but my husband stopped me, so I decided to spare the drama and DM her. I told her that was a fucked up joke, especially considering that she knows that both of my parents were immigrants, wherein which my mom had to flee her own country. She immediately started apologizing and saying that she didn't know, which I found hard to believe. We've known each other for a year and we've discussed this before, so either she's lying or stupid. She immediately deleted the meme off the chat along with the gif of her giggling about it as a response to my MIL reacting with a shocked face emoji. This morning she sent me a long paragraph about how she is upset that she upset me and that she loves me and that I'm like a sister to her. I appreciate her apologizing and all, but it really gives me the ick to associate with anyone who thinks it's funny to joke about wishing death upon a certain type of people. Is she that closed-minded, or is she that desperate for attention that she's trying to get it in the wrong way? I completely understand that she doesn't come from the same background as me or had the opportunities to travel like I did, therefore it's natural to be ignorant, and I don't want to fall out with Matt. And this has nothing to do with politics or anything, it's just a cruel thing to say, and there is such thing as a bad joke. So would I be the if I flat out call her a racist bigot the next time I see her and distance myself from her, or should I just accept her apology and drop it? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTAH. Just asking, is Vicky American, perchance? Anyway, ignore her as though you've accepted her weird apology. But the minute that kind of BS rolls out of her again, roll your eyes at her and tell her directly that no one in the family finds that kind of humor at all funny, so please, just don't. Move the convo on quickly so she hasn't time to be upset. Reply, nope. British, but sort of like the redneck version of a Brit. I was the one born and raised in the US, but I've traveled and more culturally experienced than her. Ironic, isn't it? Commenter 2, you've already called her out and there is the distant chance she learned her lesson and you are going to have to be around her until they break up. Personally, I wouldn't call her out for the meme again, but stop with the laughing because you are uncomfortable. You've told her all along through those actions that you are okay with her passive-aggressive racism. Frankly, the fact that she said, dirty Indian, and you all said nothing because it didn't directly insult you or your family. Shame on you, but she'll do it again and you need to be ready to respond. I'd be scared of that sound. Why would you be scared of that? Explain it to me like I'm 5-inch. Asking why something is scary, funny, whatever when you know it is a subtle racist dig always flusters them. Dirty Indian, what the fuck? That is a fucked up racist thing to say. I'd give the brother a heads up that you are embarrassed that you let it slide until now and you are no longer tolerating it. Frankly, the fact that he's with someone like that makes me think he's racist too. I wouldn't share a cup of coffee with someone like that, let alone sleep with them. Commenter 3, she's also self-absorbed and clueless. She doesn't think of others before blurting out whatever stupid, offensive thought pops into her mind. She's in her own bubble. Hopefully she won't make the same mistake again, but if she does, feel free to tell her, Vicky, dear, please think before you blurt out inappropriate jokes. Comments. Update. Last I left it, I said that Vicky sent a long paragraph with a dramatic apology saying that I am like a sister to her, but after reading a few comments I realized a few points. First off, how can she consider me as a sister when she clearly doesn't know me and never even cared to know me? Secondly, Vicky is only apologizing because she got called out and not because she realized that the meme she sent was out of line. I could probably forgive her if this was an isolated incident, but it wasn't. As I mentioned, she made racist comments twice before but never got called out for it, and now that she has, she's all of a sudden apologetic. If no one have ever said anything, I guarantee she would still think those kind of jokes are okay. I ignored her apology at first, but when Sunday came around and she and Matt were planning to come for our family dinner day, she texted me again asking if we are okay, and the only reply I could give her was, I accept your apology, put it that way. It didn't take long for her to cry to Matt about it, who then called his mother to bitch about how mean I was being and how they are scared to come to dinner for fear of what I might say or stir up a bad atmosphere. I told my husband to explain to his mother that I am not one to cause a show, especially in their house, that they were so gracious to let us stay in while we were moving house. I have accepted Vicky's apology and will be civil, meaning if she wants to speak to me I will listen and answer, but I will not go out of my way to speak to her. My husband and I were out for a bit, seeing a friend for a bit before we had our family dinner. When we came back there was Matt and Vicky sitting on the couch. The moment I walked in, Matt had this uncomfortable smirk on his face. The kind of smirk you make when someone you hate walks into the room and makes eye contact with you and you have to be nice about it. Vicky gave me a hi in the voice of a mouse and immediately started having a staring contest with the floor, which was fine considering I made zero eye contact with her throughout the whole evening. When we were at the table I was chatty and made it out to seem that I was unbothered, meanwhile Vicky was across the table acting all quiet and sad and making the situation awkward. Eventually, she texted Matt under the table saying that she wanted to leave once dinner was finished. Mom and Dad knew the reason why Vicky and Matt left so quickly and they became upset. They had a go at my husband about why I can't let it go, and how I was the one that made Vicky uncomfortable with the way I did not speak, let alone look at her once the entire time. I defended myself to my husband saying that she and Matt were the ones that made it awkward from the second I walked into the room. Not to mention that if Vicky truly wanted to square things away, she should have pulled me aside to talk instead of thinking that things are gonna be easily settled through a text message. I always found her to be the type that constantly plays the victim, but now I feel like she's trying to rope the family into thinking that I am the just because I refuse to let a stupid joke that was a mistake to post slide and play nice for the sake of peace in the family. Now, I don't know what to do, as everyone in the family is thinking that it is up to me to fix this, even though I wasn't the one who stupidly posted a shitty joke on the family group chat. Top comments. Commenter 1, to reinforce, your NTA. Vicky's playing the victim because now she knows you won't let her get away with her stupid remarks anymore. If your in-laws engage you directly over this, explain again to them that you will be civil to Vicky and any silent tantrum her and Matt cause over you not being buddy-buddy with her while she acts like this is on those two and not you. You might want to also ask them that if Vicky was making horrible remarks about something personal to them or their family backgrounds, would they just let it slide for the sake of now uncomfortable family peace. Commenter 2, NTA. Vicky is evil. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's extremely manipulative. Your husband's family is going to be in a world of hurt as long as Vicky is allowed to play family members against each other. She's already managed to isolate you and make them believe that it's all up to you to make your relationship work. She's playing the long game. Don't play. Step away from her and Matt. Learn to gray rock. Continue to be civil. Have a serious discussion with your husband about all of this. You and he may consider having a meeting with his parents. Write down past instances of her putting you down and how it makes you feel. Your ILs don't want to rock the boat for whatever reason, and I can't think of any reason unless they're afraid to lose Matt, who is eating up the BS. They really need their eyes open to how evil Vicky is. Don't go to ILs if she and Matt are there. Update 2. Well, y'all. I am finally back with a final update, and good lord did shit hit the fan. I was hoping that I could continue to keep Vicky at arm's length and she would eventually get used to it, but after what happened I am gonna need some advice on what to do going forward until the day Matt finally opens his eyes and realizes who he's dating. Right after that Sunday dinner when Vicky made an awkward scene in front of the whole household, my in-laws voiced their disappointment in me to my husband for being so harsh. Again, all I did was not acknowledge Vicky and kept my distance. Side note, there have been some of you in the comments questioning my husband's reaction to this whole thing, and I want to make this absolutely clear. My husband has been defending me from the very beginning. He always agreed that the joke she made was completely out of line and that Vicky is the type that doesn't know the difference between being funny and being inappropriate, especially around his parents. In fact, I actually felt bad because although his parents were angry with me, they took it out on my husband as if he had any part to play in this. Despite that, he fiercely defended me by explaining in full detail about my family's history as immigrants and even told them the story of how my mother had to flee her country and be separated from her family, which is something I never explained to my in-laws. He also pointed out that not only is this not the first time Vicky has said something racist, but she builds her entire personality on being inappropriate and that his parents has seen her behavior for themselves. Therefore, I should not be forced to interact with her, especially on her terms, when she makes me feel uncomfortable. What's more, my husband pointed out how I was the chatty one. Meanwhile, Vicky didn't say a word the entire dinner and made Matt leave dinner early with her simply because I didn't look at her. In fact, my husband's exact words to my in-laws were, "And what if she did look at Vicky? Then Vicky would have complained that she was giving her nasty looks. Besides, is that all she has to complain about? Because she didn't look at her." All four of us dropped it and moved on until Sunday came around again. It happened to be Mother's Day in the UK, so for the sake of my mother-in-law, I was going to make myself extra chatty at dinner and not make it obvious that I was still stonewalling Vicky. My husband is a personal trainer, so he had a few clients to train but was going to return in time for dinner. I decided to pass the time by getting a head start on my work and stayed in our room working on my laptop with my AirPods blasting in my ears. Around early afternoon, I received yet another text from Vicky saying that she and Matt are coming to dinner and that she's looking forward to seeing me. I left her on read and continued my work. Dinner usually starts at 7 p.m. and Matt and Vicky usually turn up an hour to 30 minutes before. Unbeknownst to me, Matt and Vicky decided to show up at 4 p.m. After a few hours, I came downstairs to check if my MIL needed a hand. I was surprised to see Vicky and Matt already sitting at the table. When I asked if they had just arrived, Matt replied that they arrived hours ago. I then turned my attention to Grandma to say hello, and at the corner of my eye I saw Vicky and Matt looking at each other awkwardly. At this point, I was just gonna let Vicky play the victim card until she made herself look pathetic while I act completely normal. The entire dinner was great as we all laughed and talked just like we always have, but then we finished dessert and that's when Vicky spoke up and said, "I think it's time we address the elephant in the room." The whole table went silent and I took a massive swig of my wine because I knew what was coming and I started to seethe. Seething at how she was about to force me to be nice to her by guilt-tripping and embarrass me in front of everyone. Seething at how she would rather cause a scene at the table on Mother's Day instead of taking the 3 hours that she had when she arrived to pucker up the courage to come upstairs and knock on my door to talk about this elephant in private. Most importantly, I was seething at how she was about to play the victim over something she did. I gave her a chance though. A chance to correct herself by saying, "You really want to do this here?" She insisted because the way I told her, "I accept the apology, put it that way," and me ignoring her texts was immature. That's when the wine I just downed kicked in and I let her have it. Me, "I'm sorry, do you expect me to invite you for bottomless brunch dates and sleepovers now?" Vicky, "I didn't say that we have to do those things. You have been ignoring my texts and you won't even look at me." Me, "Okay, but here's the thing, sweetie, you do not get to post offensive jokes that you know full well is offensive and then act all shocked when someone gets offended. You can apologize all you want, but at the end of the day we both know that you're only sorry because you got called out for being out of line and not because you knew how inappropriate that joke was, because you wouldn't have posted it in the first place." Vicky, "I had no idea that joke was going to offend you. I had no idea your parents were immigrants." Me, "Oh, so I have to disclose to you that my parents were immigrants in order for you to understand that finding humor in wishing death upon people is wrong?" Vicky, "Why are you being like this? It was never my intention to hurt you. I am not an asshole. But you are deliberately ignoring me. You have been upstairs the whole time we've been here and you didn't bother to come down and say hello." Me, "How funny considering I had no idea y'all got here so early, but you knew I was upstairs and the whole time you bothered to come upstairs to speak to me. You're the one that screwed up, therefore it is not my responsibility to seek you out and speak to you. But you already know that, which is why you're now asking me to talk right here at this dinner table in front of an audience on Mother's Day. You just want an audience so you can play the victim." Vicky, "Oh fuck off." At that point my MIL stood up and told us both to shut up and stop bickering, then ran upstairs to cry. There was a brief silence after we heard her bedroom door slam and all I could say was, "Well, congratulations, Vicky. You ruined Mother's Day. I hope this show you created was worth it." Vicky then got out of her seat and ran to the back garden to cry with Matt running after her. My husband just looked at me stunned at what happened, but I was relieved when he took my hand because I knew he was still on my side. MIL managed to calm down and came back downstairs. Bless her, she said that I was the best thing that has ever happened to her son and she loves me, but she doesn't want this to cause a wedge between her two sons. I assured her that I had dropped this since the day I wrote to her saying that I accepted her apology, so I don't know why she had to take it to that level. MIL then said that she wants our dinners to go back to how they were before all this and not have any tensions, to which I reiterated that I never did anything to cause tensions. Out of nowhere, FIL screamed out while looking at my husband dead in the eyes, "You need to stop this," and smashed a wine glass on the table. I then ran upstairs and started packing my stuff. It's one thing for being reprimanded for something I did not cause and standing up against bad behavior, but to see my husband catching blame for something that has nothing to do with him made me sick. If anything, FIL should have directed that anger towards Matt for not controlling his troll of a GF to shut her mouth in the first place. Husband begged me not to go, but I just couldn't bear to be around his parents with this sort of bad atmosphere hanging over us. I left in a hurry and stayed in an Airbnb near my office. As of now, I am staying with a friend until the process for getting our house is finalized. Husband keeps telling me that his parents wants me to come back, but I keep refusing because although it has been weeks I still feel embarrassed. So Redditors, I am left with two questions. Should I get over what happened and go back? Most important question, it's clear that Matt doesn't have the spine to break up with Vicky even after witnessing her obsession for drama, therefore how am I supposed to interact with Vicky whenever I have to see her again? I was planning to continue giving her the cold shoulder and not talking to her or looking at her like before, but husband pointed out that she will want me to do that because then she can use that as ammo against me. She will try to test my damn patience and bait me into making her look like the poor victim. I don't want that bitch to win. How should I do it? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. How can your husband stay there after his own father smashed a wine glass? Did Fael even apologize to any of you? Yeah, I understand you think he's being supportive of you by standing with you, but is he really? Or is he playing both teams? I wouldn't stay if my parents were blaming my husband over something like this. And I'm sure my husband wouldn't stay either if my FIL did this kind of weird power move. Reply, he's in a terrible position because it's his family who has been caught up in this drama that Vicky started. They don't know how to react and I guess they are trying to not risk playing favorites. The last thing I want to do is be a Meghan Markle and tear him away from his family. Commenter 2, stop saying inappropriate when you mean racist. Not using the word is allowing everyone to pretend they don't understand what's wrong here. And please recognize that your husband's parents are not on your side. They are not telling the racist person off. They are telling you and your husband off for refusing to let the racist treat you badly. And once again, your husband should be ashamed of himself for doing nothing. You can defend him, but he is still doing nothing. He hasn't even left their house when they are violent in front of you, and violent in response to your behavior. He should have shut all of this down a long time ago, and he chose not to. Your MIL is telling you she doesn't want a wedge between her sons because she wants you to submit to this abuse. Quite frankly, you're being naive and way too forgiving of these people. They are not on your side, none of them. Do not go back to that house. The moment your FIL threw a wine glass was the end of you ever living with them. The moment they started applying pressure to you to stop acknowledging how racist Vicky is was the end of the relationship you had with these people. Stop minimizing how badly all of them are treating you. Your husband included. Grow a spine. Reply, I'm saying inappropriate, because there were other things she has said that weren't just racist. My husband did do something, he defended me to his parents even when they were angry with him more than once. He did shut it down and Vicky powered it back up. Most men wouldn't even bother, and how many times we as women have complained about men not even bothering to go to bat for us when we need them. In fact, most men would get angry at their women if they were unwillingly roped into drama that has nothing to do with them. When the time comes for us to finally move out of their home, which is soon, we will diminish contact with his parents and cut contact with Matt until he breaks up with Vicky. What more do you expect him to do? Commenter 3, so Vicky isn't just the problem here. This is a really toxic family dynamic. Your FIL smashing a glass because there is tension due to a disagreement is not okay. It sounds like the family wants to sweep things under the rug for the sake of looking like you are a happy family. I would be leery about what is happening. You shouldn't have to be friends with your SIL. Some people can just not like each other and it shouldn't ruin everyone's life the way it is. I think you and your husband should go to therapy to work out a game plan to deal with his family. Reply, believe me, I do not want to be friends with Vicky, but she is definitely going to try to interact with me in front of everyone the next time we see each other in the hopes that I will give her the cold shoulder and she can cry to everyone for sympathy. That's the part where I'm like, I don't know what to do. Commenter 4, I would have a word with FIL about disrespecting my husband before I ever set foot in his house again. Slamming a wine glass over someone else's bad behavior? Nope, nope, nope. And why isn't your husband staying with you at the Airbnb? Reply, 2 reasons. He wanted to come with me but I told him not to as I felt so guilty to even look at him because I felt somewhat responsible for taking the fall for all of this. I went to an Airbnb all the way out in the city, 40 kilometers away, to be next to my office. Meanwhile his clients are closer to where we're already staying and I am not about to let my husband drive 40 kilometers back and forth for God knows how long just because of this BS Vicky caused. Stories number 21. I found my boyfriend's poop scale. Alright. So, I moved in with my boyfriend about 4 months ago. We've been together for almost 2 years, but existing in the same apartment has made me acutely aware of his strange behaviors and habits. Since we began dating, I knew how much he cared about his health. He obsessively tracks his diet, works out every single day, and is constantly researching supplements diet trends. It's all he wants to talk about. It can get annoying, but it hasn't been a deal breaker for me. He's genuinely sweet, emotionally available, and my family loves him. However, living with him has been a different story. The degree of his obsession has become clear, and it seems to be getting exponentially worse. Here's an example from last month. We were watching TV after dinner and I got up to get a snack. He asked me if I could grab him some fruit leather. As I was walking back to the couch, I opened it up for him and took a small bite. It was super tiny, like half the size of a dime. He got unreasonably annoyed and explained that he needs to accurately record his caloric intake, and now that I've eaten some, he can't use the total listed on the wrapper. He asked me to grab him a new one but it was the last one in the box. He stormed off and fucking got out the kitchen scale to measure the new weight of the leather to compare it to the weight listed on the wrapper. He barely spoke to me for the rest of the night. I was pretty shocked, but shrugged it off eventually and didn't really think about it again. That was last month. Yesterday, I discovered something that honestly may lead to the end of our relationship. I got home early from work and rushed straight to the bathroom to pee. On the counter, next to the sink, there was a digital scale, kind of like a postage scale, with a large cereal bowl resting on top. The bowl caught my eye first because it had a picture of Tommy's face from Rugrats on the inside. I had never seen this bowl before, and picked it up to check it out. That's when I got a whiff of something. It was a faint but noticeable smell of poop. Next to the scale there was a spray bottle of avocado oil and a piece of paper with a bunch of numbers written on it. It was a daily calendar. Some days had nothing written by them, others had numbers ranging from 0.25 pounds to 1.5 pounds. At this point, I was super confused and curious, so I called out to my boyfriend, who works from home. When he got to the bathroom door he looked super fucking pale. I asked him what was up with the scale and Rugrats bowl and he fumbled over some words until he said that his chinchilla, he has a pet chinchilla, has been sick and he's been weighing him to make sure that he's not losing too much weight. This explained the poo smell, but didn't make any fucking sense in any other way. I told him that there's no way his chinchilla weighs less than a pound and fluctuates that much over a few days. This is when he broke down. He started tearing up and confessed that he's been weighing his poops for the last year. He went off on this explanation about how it's giving him valuable data about how efficient his metabolism is. I don't know, it was fucking weird. I was disturbed, but I was also curious to know how the process even worked. He said that he holds the bowl under his butt in the toilet while he poops, then dumps it back in after he's taken the weight. He apparently uses the avocado oil to spray down the bowl first so that the poop doesn't stick. I don't know. He's been hiding the scale and bowl under the sink and just forgot to put it away this time. He keeps trying to convince me that it's not that unusual and there's some people on this weightlifting forum he's a part of that have done it for years. I'm really fucking weirded out, and I'm not sure I can get over it. I slept on the couch last night and told him I needed some space. I don't know what to do. Would you be able to get over something like this? I think this is the end of my relationship. Stories number 22. 21F, drunkenly kissed a lifelong friend, 22M, at a party and he told me he loved me. How do I approach this? I mean, the title is pretty much it. James and I have been friends since 2nd grade. We have shared practically everything with each other. Been there for each other when no one else was. We tell each other, I love you, pretty often. He is my family. I don't drink much, ever, and James had begged me to come with him to his friend's apartment for drinks and games. I decided to let loose, bad move on my part, and drank too much. He had a bit to drink as well but not nearly as much. He saw I was warm and loopy, so he took me out for some fresh air. Honestly, this bit is pretty fuzzy. I just remember laughing and going to kiss his cheek like I would my mother, but it didn't end that way. I missed and kinda hit the corner of his mouth, and he took that as an invitation to really kiss me. We kind of made out. And then he told me he loved me and I told him I loved him too, 'cause that's what we always say, but he responded with something like, no, like I am in love with you. And then I puked in a bush and he took me home, still quite embarrassed about it. It has been a couple days and neither of us has brought it up. I am kind of confused about my feelings. I haven't really been in love before, but I do love him and have always considered him my person. Am I being obtuse? How can I bring the topic up with him because I do want to discuss it once I figure myself out. Comments. Next time you guys are alone together, just say, hey, I wanted to talk about the other night. But I would 100,000% please figure out your own feelings what you want before you do that. I had a BFF woman when I was younger. We both got married to other people, divorced, caught feelings later and have been married for 22 years. Process how you feeling then talk it out. Sounds to me like it's worth exploring your feelings by seeing if a relationship will work. There's no safe as in avoiding hurt feelings, risking friendship, etc., way to know without trying. Just make sure it's logical. Does he treat you well? Is he honest? How has he treated partners in past relationships? Do you have compatible religious, political, financial views? And let the emotional figure it out. Update. Someone mentioned something about an update. I'm not sure if this is how it is meant to be done so if anyone will even see it, but this is how I am doing it. So we talked and I was honest. I have been way overthinking this and really just confusing myself more and more. I came to terms with the fact that I was truly very into the kiss and enjoyed the thought kissing him even when I was sober. So I told him that. But I also told him how nervous I have been about our relationship because I have thought of him as someone who will be in my life forever since 6th grade, and I have never been lucky in love. The thought of us parting ways because our relationship goes south makes me feel legitimately ill, and I told him that too. I started off with the talking because he knew it was coming and I could tell he was incredibly nervous. But he seemed to loosen up as I continued. He actually smiled a little. After I finished my speech, he said, "Can I say something cheesy but true?" And I naturally replied with yes. He told me that he has loved me since middle school and that he never thought it would get this far. I am still utterly shocked by this. I seriously have never known. I was getting all flustered and shy because of a man I have literally shared everything with, which is bonkers. When I am with him, I am the most unapologetic version of myself, but he had me blushing. That pretty much solidified it for me. The only thing left to discuss was how to move forward, and he took the initiative and asked what it was that I wanted to do about this. I had been thinking about this for a day or so since unraveling how I felt about him. I suggested that we go on a real date, not just a hangout, if he would be okay with that. I understand that at this point, he is much deeper into this than I am, so I don't want to do anything to hurt him, but committing super hard would be a lie on my end and this feels necessary to explore. Honestly, it is a possibility that he could find out that I was better in his head or something. Anyway, he agreed and we are giving it a shot. I am very happy, and he seems to be as well. He was absolutely grinning once I offered up the date idea. He was tickled that I asked him out. It was very cute, so thank you to everyone for your suggestions and support. It was surprisingly helpful. This post was more like a diary entry than anything else, and reading it back is kind of cringe, but I am grateful nonetheless. If anyone is reading this, have a great day, love. Edit, any questions, concerns, or advice about the situation would be great. I am still a bit of a jumble and talking things out with someone usually helps. Comments, this is so wholesome. Sounds like you handled everything really well, being honest about your feelings, acknowledging your fears, and giving yourself space to explore things naturally. The fact that he's been in love with you for so long and was so happy when you asked him out is seriously adorable. Wishing you both the best on your date. When I don't have time for a rom-com, wholesome updates like this will do. Hope it keeps going well at a pace you're comfortable with. Another update. James and I drunkenly made out and he said he was in love with me. I freaked out and questioned how I felt about him because we have been best friends since 2nd grade. I came to the conclusion that I enjoyed kissing him and we talked it out and decided to try out a real date. If you want more details, just read the other posts lol. James and I are exclusively dating and have been since that first date, which went, well. I thought that I would be the nervous one and he would be chill, since I had been overthinking about how our dynamic will change since day one and he kept saying he was so excited for the date. But when he picked me up and brought me flowers like the gentleman he is, my brain went a quiet calm and everything just felt like it clicked into place for me. He, on the other hand, was sweating bullets. Incredibly nervous. He was chivalrous and cheesy, opening the car door for me and making a show of it. It was really adorable. Also, this felt entirely new. I wondered if our date would feel like a regular hangout, but it didn't. It felt special, and my cheeks were warm and tired from smiling the entire night. The car ride was kind of awkward at first just because he was so stiff, but he explained that this is something that he had been dreaming of for years now and was really scared to mess up. He loosened up after I reassured him that the biggest possible mess up wouldn't deter me. We had a real big heart-to-heart on the drive to the restaurant and came to the conclusion that no matter how this goes, we will be in each other's lives no matter what capacity. It made us both relax a bit more. I held his hand in the parking lot. Because we already know each other like no one else, we fell into our conversational habits, but it still felt like I was unlocking parts of him that weren't available to me before and that he was doing the same to me. I really thought I would be freaked out, but it is so natural and we have such a deep trust that has been established over the years that I don't even feel slightly stressed. Sometimes it is a little weird, but nice. Over the years we have cuddled a few times, like a head on the shoulder with minimal contact. So being a little more intimate feels foreign, and sometimes I do feel the need to rewire my brain because I have to remind myself that it is appropriate to do with him. But once I remind myself, it is incredibly nice. It has been over a month since our date and we are still taking it slow. Don't expect an engagement announcement anytime soon. We are comfortable with this pace. Also, if you have any questions about our past or our relationship, fire away. There is a lot of lore spanning over a decade lol, thanks to everyone who wants to keep up with how we are doing. It is genuinely so sweet to have the amount of support that you guys have provided. Comments. Friends to lovers is the best plot twist. 19 years strong with my friend. 30 years ago I kissed my best friend. Scariest thing I have ever done. So glad I did it. She is asleep beside me now. She is beautiful when she sleeps. Sometimes she laughs in her sleep. Stories number 23. I told my pregnant wife how I really feel. My wife and I are expecting our second child in August. So she is 5 months pregnant. Our first is now 3 years old and has been incredibly challenging pretty much since the start of the pregnancy. It's all standard 3 years old stuff such as tantrums, hitting, biting etc. but my wife and I have very different parenting techniques. I'm very structured and she's not so much. My wife also suffers from HG, hyperemesis gravidarum, which is essentially morning sickness 24/7, throughout the pregnancy. I should also add my wife is a 3rd grade teacher at an incredibly competitive school. Since we found out she is pregnant, understandably so, she has been completely out of commission so I have taken on all responsibility of everything. I also work from home so I take care of all the household stuff, laundry, making lunches, dinner etc. I drop off and pick up my son from daycare, and walk our dog every day. I also am fully responsible for all the bills. We do, however, share our earnings in one account. We recently went on vacation and it was awesome. We were able to switch off from the real world and had an amazing time as a family. But we've been back no more than 5 minutes and shit has hit the fan. I had a full-on panic attack, and then after things calmed down I told my wife that I feel incredibly alone and cannot handle the pressure of everything, especially just how tough our son has been. She basically said to me to figure it out as she has nothing in her to give me. I found this really hard to hear given how much I am giving this entire family. I'm just looking for a little support, yet I'm being made to feel that I'm an insensitive asshole just for bringing this up. Am I the asshole? Stories number 24. Aita for not cleaning before guests came over because I was tired. I usually do a majority of chores in the house. My husband helps with laundry and sometimes vacuums, but that's pretty much it. I usually don't mind because things get done at my pace. If something bothers him, he cleans it, and he is generally appreciative of what I do. And if I ask for help, he will help. Lately he has been having friends over after work. He works second shift, so I am asleep by the time this happens. In the past, if he mentioned having people over, I would clean. But a couple days ago he mentioned people would be coming over and it was a couple hours before I was going to sleep. The last few weeks have been very stressful for me and I haven't been cleaning as much as I usually do. I just didn't have it in me to clean much before they came over. I was tired. I just cleaned up the dishes from dinner and took out the trash but didn't have energy to do more. Then I went to sleep. I woke up and he was not in bed. I had some text messages from him saying how it was embarrassing having people over the house because it wasn't cleaned. He says it was disrespectful to him and his friends because I knew they were coming but didn't fully clean up. I talked to him about it later that day and he said the same points again. He said I had a couple hours before bed and I should have at least vacuumed, mopped, and picked things up. I told him I was too tired to do that, and if he wants to have me do all the cleaning, then he needs to accept it will be done at my pace and depending on what time, energy, and motivation I have. I don't mind doing it, but it's on my schedule. That's the price of the arrangement. He thinks I was being spiteful by not cleaning more and that I am being rude by my comment on our arrangement. But I just didn't have the energy for more cleaning. Aita for not cleaning before bed knowing my husband would have friends over. Stories number 25. Aita for beating up my friend I caught sleeping with my GF of 3.5y. You know that overdone scene in movies where a character walks in on their woman getting railed by their best friend? Yeah, that was my weekend. Still shaking as I type this. I am 36, beat the shit of my friend of 10 years when I saw what I saw. He didn't press charges, didn't even fight back and said later he knows he had it coming. Obviously I did not touch my now ex-GF, 33, but holy shit did I curse her out too. Aita for attacking my scumbag buddy. No serious hits other than a nosebleed, but the fact he didn't really fight back is fucking with my head. Like I hit someone who couldn't defend themselves. Edit, thanks for your answers. A lot of PPL are confused by the extent of the damage. The truth is so am I. The shock of what I walked in on and the speed at which it happened makes me not trust my own recollection. Here's what I know for a fact: the nose was bleeding, black eye, but also no broken bones, no permanent damage that I know of. I also know I stopped when I realized this felt like an unfair fight. Edit 2, I realize assault is a crime and violence is bad unless in self-defense. That's why I'm here. Edit 3, I can't believe this wasn't immediately clear, but it goes without saying they will both never be in my life again at any capacity. Barring any legal troubles I may encounter due to my loss of control. Stories number 26. Aita for kicking out my jobless friend who turned a few days visit into a 3-week stay. I, 24F, have been friends with my college roommate for 6 years. We were super close in school but grew apart after graduation. She moved across the country and we mostly kept in touch through social media. Last month, she messaged me saying she was going through a rough patch, lost her job, boyfriend dumped her, and wanted to visit for a few days to clear her head. I felt bad and said yes. Well, those few days turned into 3 weeks. She's been sleeping on my couch, eating my food, using my stuff, and not contributing anything. I work from home and she's constantly interrupting my workday with her drama. When I suggested maybe it's time to look for a ticket home, she burst into tears saying she has nowhere to go and I'm her only support system. Yesterday I had an important Zoom meeting and specifically asked her to be quiet for 1 hour. Halfway through, she starts blasting music and FaceTiming someone in the living room. My boss definitely heard and I was mortified. That night, I finally snapped and told her she needed to leave by the end of the week. I even offered to help buy her plane ticket. She called me heartless and said a real friend would support her, no matter what. She's been posting vague stuff on social media about finding out who your true friends are during hard times. I feel guilty because she is going through a lot, but I'm also exhausted from the constant emotional labor and lack of boundaries. My apartment is tiny and I never signed up to be someone's indefinite crash pad and therapist. So, AITA for kicking out my friend when she's down on her luck. Stories number 27. Am I overreacting? My kids and I excluded from family lunch. My mother-in-law was hosting Easter lunch at her house. As it was a nice day, she planned a barbecue and for the gathering to be outside. It was only a small family gathering. When we arrived, myself, my husband, young daughter and 9-month-old son, my brother-in-law says to me, "Just so you know, my wife is bringing our dog, FYI it's a fully grown husky, and the dog isn't great around babies, it gets jealous, it's not safe." I automatically think, then why would you bring the dog when you know I'm bringing my baby? I said we will keep our distance. I'm inside when my sister-in-law proceeds to turn up with the dog on a lead and sees me holding my baby and says, "Oh, I see you have the baby." I'm heading straight outside. He's not good with babies. Again, why bring the dog when you know I'm not leaving my baby at home? Lunch is ready. I look outside and the dog is off lead. I actually thought everyone would be coming inside given the situation. They all proceeded to eat lunch and exclude myself and my children. My husband was in and out to check on us, but the rest of the family remained outside. I could not believe we got excluded over a dog. I didn't bother saying anything because I didn't want to cause an argument, and I really thought it was so obvious I shouldn't need to say leave the dog at home or put it in the garage so myself and the kids can join in for lunch. This is my first post, please go easy on me. But AIO, stories number 28. I once lied on my CV. I got the job and got promoted. I lied on my CV and somehow convinced the world I was a coding wizard. Now I'm stuck in a never-ending cycle of Google searches and caffeine-fueled coding sessions. This is when I regret it, and I do, indeed. My browser history is a treasure trove of how to fix syntax errors, and what does this error message mean? I learned to code on the job, which is just a fancy way of saying I'm making it up as I go along. My colleagues think I'm a genius, but really, I'm just good at hiding my panic. When they ask me to explain my code, I launch into a confident-sounding jargon-filled monologue, hoping they'll get lost in the technical mumbo-jumbo. The best part? I got a promotion and a raise, which basically translates to, "We're paying you more to keep pretending you're good at this." Stories number 29. I learned not to be racist by being born a man. Let me explain. I'm a black American, and all of my young life I was fed the idea that white people mostly hated us. Sure, they'll smile and work with you, but secretly they'll still hate you. Every slightly negative event I had with a white person furthered that idea. Every instance I saw of a white person doing something to another black person further validated it. You couldn't just be a general asshole, no, you had to be a racist. But the thing that validated it the most were all the images of the past. Being fed all the horrific images of black people hanging from trees and movies of how life was for slaves and segregation was too much to not develop a real resentment towards white people. You cannot expect a young person that has not been able to think for themselves yet in life to not be programmed a bit to have a resentment after seeing it so much and being told about it every year during Black History Month. Even though I had many positive experiences with white people in my own life, the conditioning was too strong to shake. In comes feminism. I never hurt a woman in my life and just don't see a world in which I would ever hurt a woman. I always thought they were the most beautiful things God created. But women started telling me I and most modern men played a role in how other men abused women. That I was an enabler of men that abused and hurt other women. And the history of men abusing women from the last 1,000 years validated why women today should be afraid of men today. And the minute I debated it, I was a misogynist, or even worse, an incel. And I thought, this is crazy. How am I being held responsible for what men in the past did? Or for what a few crazy men today do? I am kind to women. I have nothing to do with the past and don't have agency over any other men. Then it dawned on me. I was doing the same thing to white people. Holding them accountable for the past. Vilifying them at every opportunity and staying a perpetual victim. Until I got hit with the Uno reverse card and it was done to me, changed everything for me. And I can hear some people still saying this is bullshit, because women have suffered at the hands of men. Children have also suffered at the hands of women. If children were taught the history of child abuse and how they also are abused today, they would have quite an argument to make against women, men as well, but the primary caregivers are generally the most abusive. And if you want to see men as enablers of abuse towards women for not doing more, then you are most certainly an enabler of child abuse. Or, are you a good person that would never hurt a child with little control over what other parents do? But here is the kicker of what I really learned. It's a psychological fact that when you treat someone as a villain, they start to behave as a villain towards you. So the uptick in racism, misogyny, homophobia, and so on are not out of nowhere. They are the results of treating large groups of the population as villains who then develop their own resentment and start lashing back out in spite. Sometimes I think a large social experiment is being ran on the population. And so this post may be taken down because I think they don't want us to realize what is psychologically happening to us. Stories number 30. Aita for confronting a mom whose kids were stealing all the eggs I'd hidden from my friends. Ugh. This is so stupid, but I'm still mad about it. Yesterday my girlfriend, 32F, and I, 35F, threw a little combination Easter for 20 get-together for some friends in a large public park that included, as one element, an Easter egg hunt. This is a big local park where people often do small private egg hunts for their families and friends, so the idea isn't totally out there. We bought around 100 plastic eggs, stuffed each one with 2 to 3 pieces of candy, and hid them within a smallish area of the park about 20 minutes before everyone else was due to arrive. We figured because the weather was nice, we'd probably lose a few eggs due to kids walking by and stumbling on easy-to-find ones, but we bought enough that we could absorb some marginal losses. Some were pretty visible, others psychotically well hidden, most were pretty much in the middle, you'd have to really be looking to spot them walking by. While we were waiting for all of our friends to arrive, we noticed 3 kids running around the area where we'd hidden them, and they all had their arms full of eggs. Like 15 to 20 apiece easily. Their mom was sort of trailing behind, not paying attention, and on the phone. It got to a point where we finally got her attention and she literally went, "Is it okay if they take these?" My GF and I were both dumbfounded. Because, again, we figured we'd lose a few eggs to kids who grabbed 1 or 2. But this was egregious. They had easily 50 between them. There were 15 people coming. Yes, they were all adults, but adults also like to have silly fun too, so we basically told her, no. Please put them back. Her response was some version of, "They're just kids. It's a kid's holiday." I asked her if she usually lets her kids take candy from strangers off the ground in public parks, and said something along the lines of, "Weird parenting choice, but okay," and she got huffy and told the kids they were leaving and to put them back. The kids threw some of the eggs on the ground but still left with probably 40 eggs in total. Again, that's 80 to 120 pieces of candy that we bought. For our friends. And ourselves. Not for random children who didn't even bother to ask before taking it. If they'd asked, we probably would have said sure, within reason. 2 to 3 apiece. Not literally half of them. Also, as they were leaving my girlfriend called after them, "Good luck finding the ones filled with fentanyl," which was very funny, but I don't think they heard. Anyway, now I feel like an AH for calling her a bad parent in front of her kids and for ruining their fun, but I also have a real tendency to feel insanely guilty anytime I stand up for myself, blame my own mom's stellar parenting for that, so I just wanted a temperature check. This was objectively insane behavior, right? Or am I the asshole? Stories number 31. I used to fake being asleep so my dad would carry me to bed. Last night, I did it for him. When I was a kid, I'd stay up late on the couch watching TV with my dad. I always pretended to fall asleep, even when I wasn't tired, just so he would carry me to bed. There was something magical about those moments, the way he'd gently scoop me up, the smell of his flannel shirt, the safe rhythm of his steps. He never called me out on it. He always just picked me up. Time flew by. I grew up, moved out, built my own life. My dad started getting older, slower, until one day, he didn't really leave the couch much at all. Last night, I visited him after work. He was dozing off mid-conversation, TV still on. He looked peaceful, but tired in a way I hadn't seen before. I quietly turned off the TV, covered him with a blanket, and just stood there for a second. Then I scooped him up. Carried him to bed, just like he used to do for me. He half woke and whispered, "You always were good at pretending to be asleep." I laughed. He remembered. I don't know how many more times I'll get to do that. But I'll carry him as long as I can. Stories number 32. Anyone been asked to cover for a guest having an affair? I'm sure a few of us have had this and would love to hear your stories. I had it once during Ascot Races Week, UK Girl Here, where a guest and a woman, who I automatically assumed was his partner, checked into our best suite, around £700 for a night back in 2017. Thought nothing of it. Moments later, got a phone call from his wife asking me if her husband was staying there and could I confirm this. I confirmed absolutely nothing. The UK is very hot on GDPR, and I felt horrific because I couldn't openly tell her that her husband was absolutely here with another woman. Fast forward an hour, I get complaints that someone is knocking on random hotel doors. It was the wife trying to find her husband with this woman. She was obviously removed from the hotel very quickly, and the husband tried to give me £100 for keeping quiet. I obviously took the £100, but was protecting my job. Not his cheating ass. Stories number 33. I don't know how to stop being the person no one chooses. I'm 27, and I've spent my whole life being the one people forget. When I was a kid, my parents divorced, and neither wanted custody. I bounced between relatives who sighed when I walked in. In school, I was the quiet girl no one picked for group projects. Teachers forgot my name. Friends forgot my birthday. Then came Jake. He was the first person who made me feel seen. We dated for 3 years. I thought he loved me until I found out he was engaged to someone else the whole time. His exact words. I didn't think you'd care this much. After that, I tried to be cool. The girl who didn't need love. I laughed when friends canceled plans. I told myself I was independent. But last week, my roommate, my only real friend, moved out to live with her boyfriend. She hugged me and said, "You'll be fine, you always are." That's the thing. I'm not fine. I'm so tired of being the one who's strong. The one no one worries about. The one who's just there. I don't know how to fix this. I don't even know if I can. Stories number 34. Devastated by our RSVP turnout, and now we're out $700. Our wedding is at the end of May, and we invited 135 people. We were told that typically about 75% of guests RSVP yes, so we expected around 100 people to attend. Now that most RSVPs are in, it looks like we'll only have around 80 people attending, which is just 59% of the total we invited. It feels incredibly disappointing. On top of the emotional letdown, there is a financial hit as well. We signed a contract with our caterer based on the expectation of 100 guests. We are contractually obligated to pay for at least that many meals. That means we will be paying for 20 meals that will go uneaten, which comes out to around $700. I know things don't always go as planned, and I truly am grateful for everyone who is making the effort to be there. Still, it is hard not to feel a deep sense of disappointment when we have put so much love, time, and care into this day. Has anyone else gone through something like this? How did you cope with the feelings of disappointment? Stories number 35. Aita for refusing to give money to my brother to save his daughter. I refused to give $100,000 to my brother to fund his legal custody battle. Aita for this? My brother called out of the blue one day. We've been living in different countries for many years and we're often not in touch. He has been going through divorce and custody battle for a long time. The divorce is really ugly. Both he and his ex-wife are extremely similar, being stubborn, argumentative, and always right. They are both ex-army, so my brother asks for $100,000. Specifically, it's for the newest set of lawyers, quote, to conduct a last all-out custody battle. He explains it like a military strategy and explains it's a last stand and about showing strength. According to his new lawyers, it is completely unwinnable, not recommended, a waste of time, and he is better off accepting the hard truth and saving the money. I personally agree with the lawyers based on what I was told by my brother. Yet he insists it's the only thing left to do. He also said there is no way he could pay it back. My view was, if it's life or death then yes, but it's not, and it would only hurt everyone making this last stand. Stories number 36. First date seemed very low effort, or is this normal? Open to everyone. So I haven't been dating for a while and need a bit advice from men. A guy, 38M, asked me, 31F, out to a lunch date during his lunch break. When the day came and we met, he was repeatedly saying that he doesn't have much time because he needs to get back to work. He seemed stressed. I told him we can rearrange, but he was against it. He also didn't decide for a place, so we first went out looking for something nearby. After around 10 minutes he mentioned that he knows a place at the other end of the road where he once was that seemed good. On our way he mentioned that he also prepared a lunchbox because he always does. He talked a lot on the date but almost ate nothing. At the end he did excuse himself repeatedly for having to leave early because his lunch break was ending. He did pay for the meal. Still, I was feeling like I forced him to go out with me and didn't feel good afterwards. Am I right to have this feeling? Stories number 37. My husband thinks I'm being too stuck up because I don't want to be best friends with his buddy's girlfriend. Me and my husband are 28 years old with a 4-year-old and 9-month-old. I really believe these aren't the years for us to be having a lot of fun partying and think we should mostly pour into our children. I really enjoy myself when I'm making memories for my kids. Every holiday I go all out and I find joy in doing activities centered around the kids' fun memories. My husband started a new job like 8 months ago. He's become really good friends with 22 years old M named Jake. Which good for him, I don't care who he decides to be friends with. This 22 years old has a 21 years old girlfriend. So we are all young I guess, but they don't have any kids, so we are just at different points in life. My husband used to take my homemade sandwiches, wraps and various other things for lunch because it worked better for the budget. I also make these things for my shifts, night shift. Now him and Jake go out for lunch every day and he spends anywhere from 10 to 20 every day for lunch the past 3 months. I've told him it's killing our budget but he just wanted to be able to go with his friend on lunch. He's been trying to convince me to go hang out with Jake and his girlfriend for a lake day for a while now. Last weekend I caved even though I was so tired from my night shift the night before. We were out there for 5 hours. During this time my husband barely acknowledged me and our kids. He spent this time getting absolutely shit-faced with his friend and his girlfriend. I didn't get to enjoy myself at all and really was just way more stressful being at the lake with 2 young kids when all the other adults are drunk. I would have felt much better if we were at home with the kids' little pools enjoying the sun in a safer place. Anyways, when we got home and he sobered up some, I told him I'd rather not be part of a day like this again. I said it's different when we go with friends who also have children, so the kids have friends and I have friends who I can relate to. I told him to just plan his days out with his buddy and just give me some notice so I know he'll be gone. He just can't seem to understand why I don't want to be friends with his girlfriend so we can all hang out every weekend, WTF. He keeps trying to hype this girl up to be like I'm supposed to be so excited for a new bestie. I really don't have any interest in being besties. I of course can have casual conversation but she is 7 years younger than me and has no idea what it's like to be a mother, so I don't know how I'd relate to her at all. Am I being stuck up for feeling weird about this? Am I being a buzzkill for not wanting to go all into a friendship so my husband can spend more time with his work buddy? Stories number 38. Neighbors preventing sale of our house. My family and I have lived in our home for around 11 years. We live in a small neighborhood, but it is not considered the countryside by any means. Last year in the summer we had the house behind us put up for sale and new people moved in. They have absolutely ruined our mental health and lives. Unbearably loud music to the point you feel the vibrations from across the house, non-stop. My parents have had sleepless nights due to music on weekdays at 4 in the morning. The police get irritated when we call and they send someone just for us to hear the expected, there's nothing we can do. Besides the music, they have 2 large dogs, one being a husky, and the dogs live in their backyard. I live in the south of Florida, it is incredibly hot during the summer and these poor dogs have never felt an AC in their lives. We managed to do something regarding the dogs, as they barked for hours on end. Other neighbors suffer as well. We have begged these people to control their dogs but they barely speak English and even if they did they wouldn't care. So my parents recorded the hours of barking and made a case with animal control. Now whenever someone calls about the barking they get an $800 fine. However, their solution to the dogs was not bringing them inside, they put shock collars on them instead. We feel terrible, but we felt even worse being sleep deprived for days on end. As for the music and partying, it genuinely is non-stop. And we did the only thing we could, we moved to a new home. But today was our breaking point. Our old home is on the market, and we have had a buyer show heavy interest in it for the last few weeks. Last night there was a huge party behind us and I guess the buyers drove in our area and saw. We got a text from the buyers saying that due to the neighbors and barking dogs, they cannot move forward. We don't know what else to do anymore. Stories number 39. Turns out, my dad isn't the nice, non-traditional guy I claimed him to be. I was recently diagnosed with BV and a yeast infection. I'm feeling a lot better now since I went to Pages. Shout out to them. I didn't tell my dad because I didn't want him to worry or know. I made the appointment, and my boyfriend went with me. Well, my dad saw my medication and heard me complain about side effects to my sister. I told him that I have 2 infections, but they'll clear up soon, and I didn't want him to worry. His mind went somewhere else. He thought I was messing around and got pregnant. I am having consensual and safe sex with my boyfriend. He never gave me the talk, nor did my mom. I did have access to the internet growing up. I had to find out independently, and I'm still finding out. He also implied that I'm a whore. Like what? Who says that to their daughter? I wonder how he'd feel if I were his son instead. I told him I was disappointed in him, and he said his comments shouldn't affect me. If I feel that way, it's his problem. Like, he's not my father. Am I not supposed to care about his opinion? My heart broke, and all I can do is sob. Stories number 40. My 27F boyfriend, 31M, is avoiding me after my pap smear results. My boyfriend, 31M, and I, 27F, have been together for almost a year and I am frustrated with his reaction to my pap smear results. So a few days ago, my pap smear came back abnormal with low-grade dysplasia, LSAL, and signs of HPV. Up until now, my pap smears came back perfectly fine each year, so I was a bit shocked when I first received the report. Also, no HPV until now, might have been dormant, but had no knowledge of an active or previous infection until now. I have decided to share the news with my boyfriend and I really needed his support since I'm really scared of gyno issues, even the pap smear procedure is scary enough to me. I have explained to him that this is the first time it showed up for me, had no knowledge of being infected previously and shared some HPV-related facts to him, such as the favorable prognosis because we are young. I've explained to him and suggested the next steps for us, such as Gardasil vaccination and so on. He started freaking out and saying that he feels bad with himself, that he feels dirty and that he's done with having sex. I felt like this is an appropriate reaction since he had limited knowledge about this virus and I decided to comfort him, explain to him that the infection is widespread, it's got nothing to do with being clean. He went nonverbal after this and remained absent for the rest of the day, while occasionally discussing daily stuff and what he wants to buy for himself. We've had no discussion about this until now and I'm starting to get really frustrated with the way he is handling this. I've explained to him that there is no point in dwelling on whether I got it from him or not, he is not my first sexual partner, and there is no purpose in pointing fingers since it's so common and the prognosis is good. So I don't think that the issue here would be that he felt like I'm putting the blame on him. It's making me doubt his ability to have a serious relationship through good or bad, but I might just be angry at him because it will be an expensive and draining journey, especially for a person that has health anxiety. I'm not sure if I should ask him that we talk about it or I should just leave it like it is. I think he's avoiding the topic on purpose. How can I handle this since he's clearly uncomfortable? Stories number 41. Aita for not attending my friend's child-free wedding even though she offered a solution. My friend is getting married next weekend and is having a child-free wedding, which I completely respect and have no issue with. I'm a single mom to a medically complex 9-month-old who has a tracheostomy. His care is very specific and intensive, so it's not just a case of finding a babysitter on short notice. He needs someone trained to handle emergencies, suctioning, and feeding. I RSVP'd no to the wedding from the start because I don't have anyone in my city I can leave him with. My mom, who sometimes helps, lives in a different city. I also don't have a big support system. After I said no, she asked me to be a bridesmaid because some of her other bridesmaids had dropped out, which felt a little odd given that I'd already explained I wouldn't be able to attend. I politely declined again. Then she asked if I could bring someone with me to watch my son in a hotel room while I attend the wedding. I told her I can't afford to pay someone for an overnight stay plus medical care, assuming I could even find someone qualified. Her latest suggestion was that I leave my son with the woman who'll be watching her son in another room during the wedding. Then she said I could alternate and go to the room myself to check on him, basically meaning I'd spend the evening bouncing between a wedding I'm not truly at, and caring for my medically fragile baby. At this point, I've just told her, again, that I'm really sorry but I can't come. She's now very upset and says I'm making excuses and that she's trying to help and she really wants me to be at the wedding because I'm like an older sister to her. I feel like I've been kind and honest from the beginning, but now I'm wondering. Aita for still saying no. Stories number 42. Aitj for telling my GF stop inviting people to my place. So I, M26, met my GF, F24, in February. She is very nice and sweet but she likes to plan stuff without asking. When she met my work friends at a pub, she invited all of them the weekend after at my place. She basically told them that they should come to our place, we don't live together, next weekend for dinner and drinks and watch the game. I asked her later why she did that. She said she was being nice and she loves cooking. The thing is, I like going out for drinks with them sometimes, but I wasn't really close to some of them at all. Anyways, I dropped the subject. Helped her with hosting, preparing, and paid for extra grocery and stuff. She went above and beyond and everyone loved her. Now, I got a call from my brother asking about my mom's birthday party at our place next Saturday. I was genuinely surprised. Apparently she invited everyone, she met my family maybe 3 to 4 times, for surprise birthday party for my mom. My dad is kind of annoyed because he wanted to take her alone to her favorite restaurant and had the whole evening planned but decided to postpone so my GF doesn't get hurt. I told my GF that she is moving too fast. We don't even live together yet. Also, please stop inviting people to my place without talking to me first. She is so upset with me now. She said I'm being an ungrateful jerk. Am I?